First on the agenda is the adjustments to the agenda.
I want to make sure, and I think it could come right at the 645 road maintenance plan. I want to make sure that our town roads are safe and cared for by Junior. And I have done some research on this, but I just, so whenever you want to do it, Matt, but I think right under the road maintenance plan is fine with me. But I want to make sure that we address that issue.
Okay. Junior, I see that you're on. Will you be on for that part of this?
You went to get dinner.
Okay.
There you go.
Yes, I'll be on.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No worries. I'd like to, if we could, right in the beginning, while G7 ThinQ is here, just talk about the mowing contract for the town. They contacted me just to discuss some issues that I thought we should all talk about and just make a decision on tonight.
And I wondered if we could add, I got a request for the contractor who's working on the new railroad crossing on Thompson's Point Road.
Okay.
To close the road, or which would allow them to do it in 3 to 4 days versus a week if they do a lane closure. So maybe we could do that while Junior's on the call, or on the, when we discuss road issues.
Yeah, sure.
And then I guess something came up this afternoon as far as Daniel suggested that maybe for CFCs to have him do the processing, but have me sign them so he doesn't have to come to the town office. But we can discuss that, maybe towards the end.
Yeah, let's pick that one up. And CFC stands for?
Certificate of Compliance. Thanks.
Yep.
It's usually what's necessary for when somebody tries to refinance. The bank wants to know that everything is compliant with the town.
Right.
And that's the zoning administrator's sign off?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so if we could jump right before public comment into the Mo discussion, and please jump in, Dale, if I'm not characterizing this, but we had a discussion about whether or not they were permitted to be working. And I read, researched, found, and read the section that talks about a litany of exceptions in the governor's executive order. It goes A through, I can't remember now, A through M or L. It's a long list of exceptions. Mm-hmm. And one of them is property services. So at our last select board meeting, we talked about, the issue came up and talked about the town continuing to contract for these services for tick mitigation. And so the brush hogging and the mowing would still be done. Hey, Chris. That's Chris. At the same time, the Mo is still kind of getting up to speed and safe procedures for their employees, which are going to include minimum distances, 1 truck per employee so that they have dedicated vehicles, and the same with equipment, and then wiping things down after. But that combined with the late start to the growing season, they wanted the select board to say it was okay to start May 1st instead of what's in the existing contract. Did that sum it up, Dale, our conversation?
Yeah, that sums it up, yes.
So by May 1st, they'll be ready and geared up to be able to do the work safely as far as the CDC guidelines. and they're not doing in-person services, and so it would be in compliance with the property services exception from the governor's executive order. So
Why are you waiting till May 1st?
Well, number one, it's kind of cold out and everything, and nothing's really grown. I did mention to Matt we could pick up some of the dead debris. You know, May 1st is at least a little bit almost halfway to the point where the safety, you know, timetable is May 15th. So
Okay, that's great.
I just think safety-wise, there's no essential craziness that you have to be out there right now.
All right, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I stressed, I just would like the support of the rest of the board, you know, that the most important thing with contractors who are committing to do work for the town is that, you know, safety is the #1 priority. And if for any reason they feel like what they're doing or being asked to do by the town is not safe, to come to us immediately to discuss how that can be remedied or how it could be excluded, just to make sure that people are not putting themselves at undue risk or feel that they should be just for an old contract that was written before, you know, these risks were out there.
I agree with that, but I also have, I also feel that during these difficult times, we need to support the folks who provide us services and make sure they get paid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, that's pretty much what I said, why we, you know, authorized the contracts, but also didn't want them feeling pressured and, you know, not ready to do it safely.
No,
So-
no, I think you and I are on the same page.
Great. So I guess maybe I'll make a motion to change the contract for a start date of May 1st for the, is it the town mowing?
Yeah, mowing of
Yeah.
town lands.
Well,
Yep.
For the mowing and town lands contract?
yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna mute you, Dale.
Is there a second?
I was looking at that.
Second from James. Any more discussion?
Chris, you have one of your lines is unmuted. Okay.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? 5-0. Okay. Well, thank you, Dale. Appreciate the work. And again, if some issue comes up and you need to talk about it, feel free to contact us. We'll address it as soon as possible.
Oops, I muted him.
Okay.
I muted.
You can shut it off if you want to walk.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see, the 601 public comment. Anyone here for public comment? Okay, the 605 discussion of budget austerity measures for the current fiscal year. So last meeting I had said I had broached the subject with Junior as far as the paving and the whole idea of austerity. I've kind of heard it from some of the board, and then also residents in town had been asking, you know, if we would consider looking at the budget from now until July and seeing if there are things that we don't have to spend money on. And I think it's a good exercise to do. Junior's comment was the roads could, if I'm summing this up correctly, Junior, the roads could probably afford some delayed maintenance. Probably it sounded like no more than 50% of the paving budget, but at the same time, you felt it was important that the town look at this globally and we don't just look at, you know, one line item in your budget and call that a day, but really look at, a fair method of austerity and cost cutting measures. So we talked about that last meeting. And then did everyone get Mary's email looking at some other parts of the budget?
Yes.
I guess I didn't.
I don't have it, but I can find it.
Here we go. It was on Friday at 11:36 a.m. So she broke down the revenues, and it looks like
You might be able to screen share, Matt, maybe, if it's on the same machine.
it's not. I have it on my phone.
Okay.
No.
I can go print it out if we need it. But I don't remember getting it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it looks like it was sent to everyone and CC'd. Let's see. I can forward it, Dean
Okay.
and Chris. And Louise, if it's helpful, it'll pop up right at the top.
Thanks, Matt. I'm just going to run up and print it out. Take me 1 second.
Yep.
Matt, while we're waiting for her,
Yes.
I have this thing from Mary, 2-page revenue and expenses. What I don't see, yeah, I guess I do see it. I'm sorry. It was to do with the senior center. But I can see there's an information there also on the senior center. But it would probably work pretty good if we can everybody get a copy of this or somehow bring it up on the screen. Just go from one to the next. For instance, on the first one is Thompson Point. It talks about the delinquent lists and how much is you expect to get and so forth.
Yep.
Then
So-
recreation and court fines and so forth. I don't know if you want to go to that detail or not, or just use a general concept.
Yeah, I mean, I have a town report too, and kind of just looking at all the line item budgets was another way I was thinking about approaching it.
Well, I think we should start with Mary's line by line because it's not that many lines, really. There's only there's 8 different areas.
Yeah, so on the revenue side, for taxes, she's looking at $23,000 she might not recover from Thompson's Point revenue.
Right.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Frank.
Oh, great. Nice. Who did that? I was just. That was Frank.
So we're going to probably have to speak to each one of those because not everybody has the video.
So yeah, on revenue, it looks like we'll be down. She has a delinquent list of 58,304. She thinks she'll recover 35,000, so that's 23,000 down there.
With recreation, there won't be She won't have to hire very many program, instructors. So there won't be money going out there. I talked with Nicole earlier today. When we get to that, I'll let you know more.
Yep. The big number is she's saying about $320,000 short on revenue, mostly because of outstanding taxes.
There could be a few minor incidents of flooding in that part of our region. And we'll be keeping an eye on the rest of the region as well, but we're not expecting.
Someone's TV about Houston going on?
Say what?
I'm hearing, was hearing someone's news clip about flooding in Houston. They could mute. Interest income is way up. State highway aid, she wasn't sure if that was going to be affected by COVID-19. Junior, did you have any sense of that?
No.
Okay. On the expenses, I think Select Board has done a great job. The last 3 years, we've had a concerted effort to keep legal down. So we're under half and we're almost 3/4 of the way through the year. I think if we make a concerted effort to use that sparingly, that would get us $15,000 to $18,000 in unspent expenses. She's saying it's possible to ask planning not to use the consultant. I think that money was budgeted for East Charlotte Village study.
No, I don't think so. I think this is different.
I thought that was the traffic study.
We didn't want to do that.
Yeah, I didn't do the traffic study.
Does anyone remember what it was for?
You must know.
No, I know. I don't know what that's for.
Wouldn't that be for like, I don't know, advertisements or?
No, it's specific
Must
for
have some-
can you go back up a little, Frank? It kind of came off my screen. Yeah, there it is. So it's specifically for a planning consultant. In the past 4 years, it's been a level funded amount. So we could ask planning and zoning to not spend that or direct them not to if people.
So would that be a saving of 2,500?
Would that be what?
Savings of 2,500 then?
Yes, if we directed them not to spend that.
Yeah.
Do people want to do that?
Yes.
Well, I think we should go for
we
every one of them first. Why don't we go through every one of them first?
Okay.
And then we decide.
Now wait, Dean, where is that $2,500 going?
I have to say, I don't know for sure. Yeah, I'm not sure, Gary.
Okay, well, we'll get an answer from Peter. I think tonight, if we kind of go through it, talk about the numbers, and then maybe even make decisions at the next meeting. I don't know that much money is going to be spent between now and then.
Right.
Are people comfortable with that?
Yeah, that sounds good, Matt.
Yeah, that sounds like a good process. My 2 cents worth, for what it's worth, and it's not even worth 2 cents, is we should be careful about deferring important maintenance projects. That's all. That's my 2 cents. And it's worth a penny, which is, something.
Yeah. So with Junior's budget, Mary calculated it's budgeted at 923,250, 382,527 spent. Her opinion is to let him make his own decision. Well, you guys can read it. So, Junior, have you had more thoughts about the paving and what you think would be a reasonable amount to hold off on without sacrificing safety or quality of the roads?
Well, it's hard to really say. I mean, I hate to cut the paving a lot this year and then next year come in. Well, I can't say next year because we've already done next year's budget, but the following year thinking, okay, then we're going to need like, I don't know, 100 to 150,000 more. And I don't know how many people are going to do that. The other thing is, we do have some money left, and whether we should use that for what you want to use it for, or if we should save some of it for the Moncton Road project. I went up by there today, and it has settled some more on that east side. It's probably down 4 to 6 inches right now.
Wow.
Yeah, that sloughing, I think that's a real safety issue. I don't.
Yeah.
And wasn't there a grant for part of Ferry Road?
Yes, there was. That grant, we have to use that. If we don't use that, we will lose it. And I don't think Matt was talking about taking part of that. He was talking about taking part of our existing 235,000 that we've had for paving for, well, more than the last 22 years that I've been in. It hasn't gone up a cent since I've been in 22 years.
So, and when Junior and I were talking, he was saying it used to be able to pave close to 6 miles, and now the same amount of money paves close to 3 miles because the price per ton has gone up so much with the price of oil. We happen to be lucky, even though we've been having a hard time getting companies to bid since all of their workers are not working. But we're at historic low oil prices. So it's possible that even though we're reducing, we may look at reducing the amount we spend this year, we may get more than we would have had this been done, in the fall with the fall prices. But that's kind of a guess on those numbers. So Junior, I think my sense is most people on the board want to defer to your judgment on how much of that 235 you think would be okay to hold back on this spring with the option of fall paving or, paving next spring. My sense is whatever we save in this austerity exercise of not spending unessential money in the end of this fiscal year is when we go to adjust the budget in August and set the tax rate, we carry over a certain amount for cash flow purposes, and usually that's been around 3 to 5%, but it can be as high as 8% of our budget. So that money isn't necessarily going to be lost if we don't spend it in the spring, and could still be available next spring, if it's not needed to make up shortfalls in tax revenue, if that were to happen. So it's kind of just a conservative approach to how to kind of manage the finances that we have.
That's true, particularly for highways, because that rolls over into the highway fund.
Right.
Sorry. It's Louise again, and I realize I'm repeating myself, but I grew up in a construction family. 2 really important things for me: keep your crew together, get them paid. Number 2, make sure the roads are safe.
Yeah, Junior, do you have some more thoughts for us?
Hang on. There you go.
I think we could cut back on the paving for sure, and our roads would be safe. It means we would have to do more coal patching because you guys have already okayed several bike races to come through town, and I just don't want to be, liable for somebody in a bike race hitting potholes. And I mean, we can put coal patch in them and fix them you know, temporarily, but it usually does come back out. So I think it's kind of up to you guys. Yes, I'm okay with, you know, taking a cut, but I just don't want the cut to be just out of the highway. I'd like to see it, you know, across the board, but.
Well, it's also seems, this is Dean, I guess it's not clear whether the paving companies are going to be operating during the current year.
I don't really think that matters if they're going to be operating in this current year or not. If I don't get it done until, let's say August, the money that is in my budget will still be in my budget in August. It does not go back to the general fund.
Right.
See, this is Louise again, and I won't. Okay, now I'm giving you a nickel. Okay, I think we defer to Junior's best judgment, and it doesn't sound like doing a coal. And I'm way above my pay grade here, below my pay grade, something like that. Junior, it doesn't sound like doing a coal patch is really, in the long run, the right thing to do. But I would just defer what needs to happen to him.
Yeah, I hear you. And I mean, we can do the coal patch for sure and it will work. I mean, since, you know, when I first took over 22 years ago, we were doing a lot of coal patching and our blacktop roads have come a long way since then. So we are ahead of 22 years ago, but I don't think we want to go backwards. So I think we could, you know, just to cut cost, I'm willing to give up some of that, you know, some of that paving money. But I don't, like I've said, I don't want to be the only one taking the hit.
I don't think we should touch the highway budget all myself. We've stayed the course for 22 years. That little bit will not affect much.
Well,
Taking away out that.
I think the point is if everyone makes a small sacrifice, those add up in every department. And the highway budget is a third of the town budget. So even a small, so let's say we held off on 50,000 of 235,000. That represents a 5% cut to the budget. If every department did a 5% cut on $3 million, we're looking at $150,000 that we could be preparing for as a shortfall in delinquent taxes coming in November because people are out of work right now. I mean, unemployment is 30% in Vermont.
Yeah, Matt, I think the only way this really works is that if every department participates. You know, it looks like easy money in the highway budget, but it's really not fair just to take that one. I think if you go, say, 5%, it has to go to every department.
Yeah, I agree.
Good.
To back up just a little bit, it looks like listers have money in their wages, and I'm not talking about the chair, but the other listers. That's probably not going to be spent. Line 100-3400.
You know, we could do this another way. Because, I mean, it looks like just if I'm going to extrapolate how long this process will take us, it's like reverse engineering the budget. This might, at this rate, take us 6 to 7 hours, which would probably be 3 or 4 select board meetings devoting 45 minutes to an hour each time. We could also put out a memo to every committee that receives funding and say, please let us know if you're willing to commit to a 5% austerity measure in anticipation of lost tax revenue come November. And then have it be a ground up kind of volunteer effort from everyone's department. And then that saves us a lot of top-down management of this.
We could go there, Matt, but the reality is if we just say across the board, they'll have to come up with it.
Yeah, well, pretty much most departments haven't spent that.
Yeah, good.
especially because we're 3/4 of the way through the year, so there's 25% at a minimum. But most departments either spend heavy in the summer, in the beginning of the fiscal cycle, or come May, June, they really do their spending. And winter's usually a pretty slow time for expenditures.
Yeah, I can tell you that the only department I can see that may have a real hard time with that is fire rescue. And the reason for that is simply this COVID-19 has increased the cost of protection for the EMTs a lot. And I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, they have spent quite a bit of money on PPEs.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how that's going to work with fire rescue. I don't know if they have the ability to cut 5%, but
I would exempt them personally. I mean, that's a clear cut.
But what I would do is give them the option and have them maybe come back to us or give us a reason why things can't go 5%.
sure.
Okay. So maybe the memo I can draft it would say the select board's discussed and is asking every department to withhold 5% of their budgets for this current fiscal cycle. If there's an issue in achieving that, please send an explanation why. And then we can look at that at the next meeting.
That sounds good.
Okay.
So let's say if we do it that way, let's say someone comes back and says, I can only take 2% off, and everybody else is taking 5% off. In the next budget, can we recoup that 3% that wasn't taken?
Yeah, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
As long as it gets approved.
In the end, everybody ends up even at the 5%.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Good.
Okay, so and
Well,
people,
I hope you're all safe at home because here it comes, the storm as predicted, with huge winds right here.
yeah, let's hope we keep broadband. Okay, so are people comfortable with that 5% goal?
Yes.
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay. How do we get back to?
Frank, can you stop sharing? There you go.
Sweet.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, is dinner ready? I said, is dinner ready? Yeah.
Okay, renewing the local emergency management plan.
Chris, you can unmute.
Hi, guys.
Good evening.
How are you? Thank you for doing what you're doing.
You do.
So do you want to give just a brief overview, Chris, and then just maybe overview of any changes?
Well, I think you hit that. You corrected in the plan, you guys were talking about the emergency management draft. Dean has updated some of the phone numbers and contact information. It's great. We had added at the request of Margaret Woodruff at the library, they wanted to be an option for a day center if we needed it, and that sounded great. We did that. I think we just rearranged a few of the other, we added some other resource folks in there, and thanks to Dean correcting it. I mean, basically it's a basic plan. It obviously, we're gonna add a little addendum after we get, in a better place with this whole COVID-19 thing. We may as well have a page in there for some tips for the future select boards and or emergency management directors on kinds of things to think about. You might be curious to know that I did, or like to know that I participated in a Zoom meeting earlier today that was initiated by Reverend Goldenbaum Bottom at Charlotte Congregational, and Margaret Woodruff and Cindy at the Food Shelf. And they're basically working on bringing in as many of the local support agencies. Folks were there from Jim Hyde was there from Vince Krockenberg from the Senior Center and Jim, and there were some other folks there. So basically was Senior Center, Library, Food Shelf, a couple of the other, Andrea Regan was there from the Health Center. And the idea is to kind of bring together what are some of the pressing needs in the community right now and put some resource information out there for folks, which they will be doing in the next few days. And obviously, if I hear from that, there's some issues that your board may be able to help with, I will certainly come back to you guys with that. But it was just nice to know that, you know, right now it seems as though Meals on Wheels.
Oops, sorry.
You still there?
Yeah, sorry. I heard some noise. I was trying to meet somebody, but I didn't realize it was you. Sorry. Keep going.
Oh, okay. I guess what I'm saying is right now, folks are those service agencies are kind of keeping up with the demand in Charlotte. That could change. One of the other things that the call prompted me to look into is exactly what the state is prepared to do for the food shelves to make sure there's an adequate supply of food and that they aren't all depleting their budgets with requests and with people coming. And I'm going to try to find out more about that, and I'll share that with Dean, and obviously I'll share that with Cindy. I did just read that food for food shelves is one of the FEMA approved things you can apply for funds to buy, but if the state's already doing it, I would think we wouldn't have to do anything like that. And we're all going to find out how this plays out. Right now, as I said, from what I heard today, you know, needs are being met, but there are requests to the food shelves and the church for, you know, assistance with rent and fuel and utility bills. And those are things that they absolutely aren't prepared to do. And I don't know what other agencies are. So I guess we're just going to have to stay tuned and see what we learn from all of that.
All right, good. Well, thank you for
Hey,
that.
hey, Chris, thank you so much for what you do. Just thank you. I no longer give birthday presents. I give money to the food shelf.
Nice.
So when your birthday comes up, Chris, let me know.
It was actually Saturday.
Happy birthday, Chris.
And that's legit. It really was. I got to celebrate socially responsibly in the backyard. My brother came over and we slid a piece of cake across over there so he could have one.
Nice.
You know, the other thing I would point out, I don't know what your take on it is, but I think we're very fortunate in Charlotte. For the most part, I mean, I've been to Thompson's Point. I haven't been up on Mount Philo, but you know, where I see folks on the roads and when I meet neighbors on the street, everybody's being very good about either having a mask or a mouth covering if they're in a store or somewhere, and they seem to be keeping their distances when they're out and about with others other than their family unit or their family friend circle or whatever you want to call that, who you've chosen to be in contact with. So I really feel like we're fortunate in this town. People seem to be really trying to do the right thing.
I would agree.
How has it been going with your store, Carrie? Has that worked out okay? You've been able to stay open on some basis so you can get things to people?
Yep, we're pretty much open from about 7:30 in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. And that gives us the whole day to get the people's needs met that way. But I'm finding the same thing. There's only, 2 or 3 people at the most in the store at a time, and everybody's being quick with their time. And I have a wonderful staff. They love to clean, and so we've got Clorox and whatnot. So
have any of you guys?
Well,
I was going to ask Carrie or any of the rest of you. Are you familiar? Are there folks? Do you know of numerous people who have it? I mean, I had 2 of my.
I know of no one.
No.
I thought I heard that there was a family down on the other side of town. But generally speaking, I know of no one's names of, and whether it's customers or, so no.
Well, I know a couple of I've got two neighbors I know, and I had two coworkers. That was 2 weeks ago, so I guess I was spared from that. But I do know that hearing it both from the conference call that I shared some information with you, Matt, and with Dean, from the state. I mean, statewide, we've been really good at keeping that curve flat, but consequently, they are anticipating that it means that the number of cases, as you probably heard on the news today, it seems to be, 30 to 35 a day, pretty consistently going along. And that probably will continue, except that maybe now or sooner, there will be more testing. There is more testing available every week. So the total number of cases will probably climb, but the real issue is number of hospitalizations. And other than the jail population, from what I'm seeing from the latest updates, is they've been able to manage this so that the hospitalizations are staying much lower than they anticipated. So that's good news. It means, though, that they are anticipating a potential for another spike once they release as they start to back off the stay-at-home order. And again, that's just something we're going to have to watch play out and just be cautious ourselves about that, because just because we don't know that many people who have it, or we don't have it ourselves, there's a very good likelihood that it is still very much out there and will be for, a few more months for sure. Maybe right into they're predicting maybe right into the fall flu season. So we'll just have to see how that goes, and I'll keep sharing whatever I hear about it.
I imagine when it gets lifted, I imagine we'll be asked to stay the 6 feet apart for quite many months, right up maybe even till fall, that practice safe everything,
Yeah, it sounds like, from what I'm hearing currently, unless they come up with some way of treating the most severe cases and or coming up with an effective vaccine, these measures are really our only defense, especially without good broad testing data. There's no way to know where we are in the whole population's immunity to it from already contracting it. So that risk is out there that it could escalate quickly at any point until we get a large number of people naturally immunized by surviving the infection, or having a confidence that people can be treated safely if they get it, or being immunized through vaccines. So it's we're just waiting it out and trying to minimize the amount of people that get infected at any given time.
That's a good summary, Matt.
and we are going to be all right. The important thing is we really are going to be all right, Matt. We're doing the right thing. We're going to get through this, and we're going to be all right.
Julianne, you had your hand up?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I wanted to ask Chris, he mentioned that he met with the food shelves, the folks from the church, along with members of the senior center, to put together a list of resources. Where are you planning to communicate that information? I'm from the Charlotte News. So
yeah, sure. It's going to come over to, Vince was in the loop on that, and it's coming over to Cree, I think tomorrow. Vince has a draft of it tonight. I just saw an email.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure if it was something I needed to follow up on or not. But
nope, it's coming to you guys through Vince.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.
And I'm sure they will communicate that other places, Front Porch Forum, etc. It was the first attempt to get a lot of those resources, where to call, who to talk to, this and that, get it all in one place. And it was great effort so far.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that.
I was also interested to know that Elizabeth Skypeck from the school was on, and the school is feeding, I think she said 30 or 40 students, and another 10 or so they're delivering to who don't have the ability to actually come and get the meals. So that's kind of an ongoing thing. And I understand Champlain Valley High School is doing the same thing. There's a number of students that would normally receive the, the food, you know what they call it, where you're getting the reduced fee lunch, whatever, meals, and that is still going on. So Elizabeth is there at the school preparing food for folks to pick up daily on the weekdays.
Yeah, and it's Louise. Hey, Chris, when you put this together, or Charlotte News, if you could include a way for people to volunteer to drive meals, excuse me, I'd be happy to pick up and drive meals, in my mask, of course, and in my gear, but happy to help out in any way.
Yeah, I will. That's a good point. I will include to make sure they get the contact information for Meals on Wheels volunteers, because they were looking for that. And I know some folks in Shelburne through the Rotary, I know are doing that. So yes, I'll be sure to make sure they put that in there. And Louise, I'll send you the link I have about it as well.
Also, Chris, while we have you, I might just jump in with a select board update that I think is pertinent to you hearing. It came to the attention, to Dean's attention, that there is possibly a Thompson's Point leaseholder who was sleeping over this weekend.
Oh, I think I hate to say this, but I mean,
Yeah.
I walk that loop a couple times a week, and I think there might be more than one, but when is it going to actually be officially open? Isn't it the 15th?
So it's a nexus of the 15th and when the septic system is open.
I saw they were working on the septic. I don't know
Right.
where they are in that process.
So all the leaseholders should have received a letter from the Thompson's Point Leaseholders Association in March.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
We did. Yeah.
So they should be getting notified when their section of the septic force mains are open and operational, and that it's okay to move in. Dean put together a packet, and Dean and I went down and met with the person at their camp.
Oh, wow.
A packet of the lease highlighting the dates that they were allowed to be on premises, and a copy of that letter in case they hadn't received it. He actually had not received it, and had said that he was actually just moving furniture around between his house in Fayston and his house here, but he is from Massachusetts and was going to be going back there at the end of the weekend. So I also then asked if he knew about Governor Scott's executive order that anyone crossing state lines into Vermont needs to quarantine for 14 days. And he said he was not aware of that.
Yeah, I bet he wasn't.
Yeah. So if you do hear of other people, before it opens up, I think it'd be a prudent thing for the select board to just do that educational piece for people and drop that off.
It's not that I would hear. If I walk the walk, I see places that look like there's more activity. Like you said, a couple of them.
Yeah. And Dean?
Well, people are working on their camps. There are some people that, live year round in Chittenden County and they work on their camps. So it's not unusual to see activity during the day. It would be if they're there at night, that's a problem.
Oh, right.
So that's kind of on the emergency management side, that's the only piece that came up this.
So basically, if I become aware of anything of that, I would just let Dean know.
Sure.
I guess, right? That's the right way to go, or Daniel?
Yeah, that would, I guess either. I mean, Dean now has kind of the packet that.
Perfect.
That legal, recommended we deliver.
Nice.
So we could just get from Mary the specific, copy of their specific lease.
I see.
For each person.
Great.
And the other two documents were the guidelines for the wastewater ordinance and then the actual wastewater ordinance.
Matt, how does this work if someone's coming from out of state to their camp? Are they being quarantined for 14 days?
Technically, they're supposed to.
Yeah, they're supposed to, I think, right?
Yes.
How do we manage that?
Good question.
Well, I mean, I think Matt has said this, and the governor has said it too. We can't devolve into a police state. I think we have to rely on everybody's goodwill that they will do what they're asked to do. I mean, I don't know. We don't have the resources, or to just run a police state. I think we just and I think what Matt and Dean have done is educate people and say, look, this is what you need to do. Now, if you're out in Thompson's Point for 14 days, you still got to go get groceries somewhere. I don't know.
Louise,
yeah.
Louise, I'm not suggesting a police state at all. I was just wanted to know if people are aware of the 14 days and how does that work?
Oh God, Jim, I didn't imply that. I'm sorry if that came across that way. I didn't imply that at all. I'm just, yeah. How do we communicate it to everyone?
Should we reach out to the state on that and see what they recommend, what their thoughts are? I don't know.
Well, I think Chris has already done it, and Jim, I think you just basically say to people, here's the package, and this is what you really should be doing.
I think maybe too, Dean, maybe I have a little phone call with you tomorrow. We talk some strategy about getting back in touch with the Thompson's Point Association, leaders, and say, because there's also the governor's issue with Airbnb rentals. And, now, that's a factor that could come into play, that people are deciding to rent, not just, Thompson's Point or Cedar Beach, but other places in town. And combine that with the quarantine, that kind of puts a whole dynamic in there that's beyond any of us to try to police, as Louise said. But at the same time, we do owe them all some education, both to the owners of the properties as well as anybody who shows up.
Yeah, it looks like Lynn has her hand up, but I also just want to say that I forgot what I was going to say, but maybe Lynn can go.
So I'm an Airbnb host, and I've been one for 3 years, and Airbnb has closed down until the governor says we can open back up. So they've closed it down for us, so you don't have to talk to anyone, because Airbnb is they're doing a really good job keeping us informed and then shutting down our calendars, so no one can actually book with us right now anyway.
I think it might be Airbnb too. I just heard 2 days ago that the governor's allowing registrations after June 15th.
Right, that's what I read today.
But may not necessarily be allowing that,
Yeah, they're not. They haven't opened up our calendars as of yet. I just wanted to say, sorry.
No, thank you.
No,
Okay.
it's good. That's great.
The other piece on the education piece in that packet, we highlighted the repercussions of violating the terms of the lease or the wastewater ordinance, and they're basically fines, and it is a civil infraction, so it would go through the civil process. And kind of the legal's take on it is, if someone's there before the lease allows, then it's basically treated as a trespass from a civil perspective. Okay, well, we
do need an adoption, a motion on this, and there will be a form for you to sign, Matt.
Great.
Yeah.
Maybe the motion could include the chair to sign.
Great. And let me just say, Chris, I think you were also suggesting including there's a list of items, some maps, and the railroad hazmat spill plan.
Yes. And you and I want to just chat about that tomorrow offline. I mean, we didn't have, that was kind of a checklist of things that would be good to have in the plan.
Yeah.
I don't have very many of those things, but with your help, I bet we can, in other words, they don't have to be with it to sign it so that it's good for the whole FEMA thing. But there's something we should want to include with the document just for our own use, I think, right?
Yeah. I think we've included some of those in the past.
Okay, great. Yes. I have the railroad one. I can send you the update on that electronically.
Okay, great.
The only thing I've got is we've got the Little Garden Market still listed on here.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, aren't we using the Ferrisburg address for them? Because they're still in business down there. They aren't right now, but
Do you know what page that's on?
it's in the back, I think.
There's one on page 10 in the middle.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's Guild.
And there was another one somewhere, but I don't know exactly where it was.
We do have Gill Feathers, but we should probably strike Little Garden Market.
Right. The intent was to get the one down in Ferrisburg. So you're right. Strike the other
Yeah.
one out of there.
That's on there.
And it may be somewhere else in the document. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it there. Yep.
Is there a motion to renew the local emergency management plan as amended and authorize the chair to sign?
So moved.
I'll second that.
I'll second it.
I think Jim got there first.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Any more discussion? Well, thanks for your work on this, Chris. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. And I can come down and sign that tomorrow if it's ready or whenever it is.
Okay, I'll shoot you an email.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Thank you. Chris.
Thank you guys very much. If you need me, you know how to get me.
Great.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks
You're
a lot.
welcome.
Next agenda item is the road maintenance.
I can put this up on the screen if you want, just so people can see it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
So this is new, and the reason that we're doing it is it was requested or recommended for by the FEMA representative who's working on the grant, which is hopefully going to pay for the repair of the bridge abutments. And there's a culvert that Junior replaced on Thompson's Point. So basically, just thumbnail of the various tasks that are involved in maintenance. Is Junior still on the call on this?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to? Is that look approximately complete?
Yes, pretty close.
Except for all the extras that you throw in?
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think it pretty much covers it.
Yeah, okay. So it does have a place for Matt and Junior to sign. So we would just, have this and then send it to FEMA, and it'll go in our packet for the grant.
So what do we need? A motion to approve the road maintenance plan as presented and signed by the chair and the road commissioner?
Yeah.
Sounds like a motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion?
No.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 All
Oh, good. You got a twofer there.
All those opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Let's see. Next on the agenda, reappointments to committees, boards, and commissions. See the list on page 2 of the agenda. Would you be able to put that up?
Oh, sure.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to meet Callie on the board currently?
Oh,
Jim maybe hasn't.
No, and I have not met her, but I followed what what she's done.
She has been the canine control officer in the 6 years I've been on the board. In my opinion, has done a really good job and has also accommodated any and all requests that select board members have made over those years. Just seems really workable and works well with the public. So, I would make a motion to reappoint Kelly Griswold as the Canine Control Officer for a term ending April 30th, 2021. Here.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion on Callie? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Mark Dillenbeck, is everyone familiar with Mark?
Yes.
yeah.
I guess I'll make a motion to reappoint Mark Dillenbeck as the tree warden for a term ending April 30, 2021. Is there a second?
Yeah, I unmuted. Yes, I think he does a great job for us. I'll second that.
Phew. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? 5-0. Is everyone familiar with Matt Zucker from the Zoning Board of Adjustment?
No.
I don't know him either. What does Frank have to say?
He's been on the board for a few years now, and he's always had good contributions to the meetings, and he knows our zoning bylaws pretty well. So I'm happy with him to return to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. So I'll move that we put Matt Zucker on the Zoning Board of Adjustment for a term ending April 30th, 2023.
Second. Any more discussion on Matt Zucker? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Kevin Burgett. Does anyone know Kevin?
I've never met Kevin.
No, neither do I.
This is a reappointment though, right?
Right.
He was new last year?
He was on trails before, and then he moved over to conservation.
Do people want to do a blind appointment, or would people prefer to have him call in at the next meeting?
I think anyone that has had stepped forward and served, and I think we can probably be comfortable. At least I'm comfortable with that. We're very fortunate.
How long has he been on the Conservation Commission?
This would be his second term, and I'm not sure that he completed an entire first term. He might have taken over for somebody.
So it might be just a year or two.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2. Yeah, probably 2, or maybe it has been a full term. Let me see if I can find.
Well, just the same, I'm fine for reappointing Kevin Burkett to the Conservation Commission for a term ending April 30th, 2024.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion?
Just for discussion, he was originally appointed April 9th, 2018. to conservation.
So he's probably served a term and a half.
2018. No, this would be, he's finishing, he just finished his first half term.
First half term. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
No more discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, Dean.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda is the 705 item. It's KR Properties LLC. I'm going to recuse myself as I'm related, directly related. And Frank, would you take over?
Sure. So it's a license agreement to install utilities under Mount Philo to serve the development. So we can start with that one.
We can put up a map that shows the location.
Did everybody get a copy of the license agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Louise, did you get a copy? Yes, I'm sorry, I did, and I read it, and and I'm satisfied with it. It properly cares for damages and responsibilities.
Okay.
I mean, you know, there's nothing else to do these days except read these things.
Yeah. I mean, I've read it unless there's somebody in the audience that really wants to go through this slowly. I'm fine with it.
I'm happy with it, Frank.
I'm all set with it. I've reviewed it.
Does anybody else got any questions from the audience? Then can, I mean, I can make the motion if you want, I guess.
For the license.
So if I make a motion to approve the license agreement to install utilities under Mount Philo according to the lease agreement that's presented for KR Properties LLC.
I'll second that.
To probably be signed by the vice chair.
Yep.
So you seconded it. So
I seconded it.
any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Look at that, Eddie, you didn't even have to chime in.
Nope.
Okay, we got one other one here, I guess. So we have the naming of the private road amendment to the road naming ordinance. Parkview Place. Anybody want to make a motion for that?
I mean, well, is there really a Parkview? Should I go out there and look at it? I'm just kidding.
Well, we can discuss that after we make a motion to approve it or not approve it.
Okay, I'll move to approve it.
Do I have
What
a
park are you
second?
viewing?
I don't know, Mount Philo State Park?
There you go. All right.
Somebody
I'll
on the
second
phone?
that. Move it.
So seconded by James. Was it looked at to see if this was going to be close to any other named streets within the area?
Yeah, fire and rescue approved it.
Okay. Eddie, is this what you want?
This is exactly what we would like. We do border on the state park, but it also has a little bit of a sentimental connection to the street that we grew up on.
Okay. Thank you. I guess all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? 4-0, 1 abstention. So I guess we can move on to the 7:15. Matt, if you want to take over.
Great. Thank you, Frank. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, everyone. I'm going to mute now.
Okay.
The 7:15, Addison County Relocalization Network has a request to use the town highways for a fundraising bicycle ride toward the farms on September 19, 2020.
So Sue Hoxie is with us. She's connected.
Hi, folks.
You want to tell us a little bit about the ride? This is not the first year, right?
No, this would be, well, it's the 12th year for the ride, but the 3rd year with the start in Virgins going through Ferrisburg and Charlotte. So it's the exact same route as the last 2 years. And I guess I should preface this with the date is September 19th. We're proceeding as planned until we, hopefully we're going to go off on September 19th. Given the current circumstances. So same route as the previous 2 years. So we come into Charlotte onto Spear Street. There's a stop at Adamsbury Farm. Takes a left on Binghambrook Road, a right on Guinea Road, a left on Heinsberg Road with a stop at Philo Ridge Farm, and then continue on Heinsberg, cross Route 7 at the light onto Ferry Road, and take a left onto, I think it's Greenbush, and go by, we stop at Charlotte Village Winery. So we typically have 300 to 350 riders. They go off in groups of 10 to 12. It takes them, we start letting riders go at 8:30, and the last group of riders goes about 10:30. So they're well spread out. There are course marshals that ride with the groups. And let me just look at my notes. We have some safety precautions and traffic control. So we have a flagger at the corner of Bingham Brook, signs and cones at the right onto Guinea Road, a flagger and sign package at Heinsberg Road.
This is Louise. My only question, first of all, I totally support this. I want to know who designed the pig on the bicycle. Because that kind of describes my biking. But
well, but it's a cow.
Oh, is it a cow?
Yeah, it's got spots.
Oh, I thought pigs could have spots. Anyway, my only issue is have you? I'm sure you have talked this over with Junior.
I'm sorry.
After all of our discussion about potholes and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as long
I'm sorry, I don't know who Junior is.
He's our road commissioner.
Okay.
And as long as Junior is satisfied, you should consult with him to make sure that the route there aren't any real problems with it. And by September, hopefully there won't be.
Right.
So we have an application. Sorry.
Oh, Junior's online, but it's also.
Okay. Is he still online?
Go ahead. Yeah, I'm still on.
Okay.
So I don't have a problem with it. I know they love to have it graded just before they do the ride. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I was going to say, really? But there's only a really short stretch, I think, on Bingham Brook and Guinea that's unpaved. So, this is a leisurely ride. It's not a race. Everybody's out to have fun. Riders spent over $3,000 last year at the various farm stops, buying product and purchases. So it's a great event. And Dean's ridden it a couple times at least, right?
Yeah. Great event.
So Sue, is there any requirement for fire rescue to be available, an ambulance be available? Have you contacted them or?
So Fire and Rescue has already signed off on it. So part of my permitting process is I need sign off from all three towns, Ferrisburg, Charlotte, and Virgins, and all first responder groups. And once I have all the sign offs, I put a package together and I submit the package and an application to Department of Public Safety. It's called a waiver for the 2 abreast rule. So that package has every town and first responder sign off and whatever traffic control requirements that we need.
Great.
Hey, yeah, thanks for doing this and putting it on.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Clearly very organized also.
The fact that I can't tell the difference between a pig and a cow, don't worry about it. I'll move to approve. As long as you don't laugh at me too loud, I will move to approve the Acorns 13th Annual Tour de Farms.
I'll second. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0.
Yeah, I don't see Carrie there, but
Carrie, I saw her hand come in.
okay.
Carrie, can you hear me?
It still is.
Yep, still an aye.
All right,
Well,
thank you. Thank
yeah.
you very much, everybody. And
Yeah.
hope you can come join us on September 19th.
Thanks, Sue.
All right, thanks. I'll drop off the call now.
Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
The 725, Waitsfield and Champlain Valley Telecom. Is someone here?
Yeah, Art is here. I've muted him. Let me unmute him.
So Art is here with Champlain, Waitsfield and Champlain Valley Telecom, requesting to place approximately 1,060 feet of conduit for underground fiber optic cable along Dorset Street from near the intersection with North Olde Carriage Road to the Waitsfield Champlain Valley Telecom pole number 24/6-1.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Okay. You think a bike ride's fun. You've never dug conduit along the edge of the road. No, just kidding. This conduit is going to contain a fiber optic cable. That cable will give fiber to the home to the folks out there. And we know we have to bore under the road. I reviewed it over the phone with Junior. We've done this several times before. Not here, but I mean in the town of Charlotte. There's nothing special that I really know of here. Our contractor is bored and they're very experienced, so I don't foresee a real problem.
Well, I will, Ms. Louise, I want to move this. I think you guys have done a great job getting fiber out everywhere. And it's really a service to the community. So I am going to move this for the Waitsfield and Champlain Valley Telecom petition for the use of the public right of way to the laying of fiber optic cable.
I will second that. Discussion. I'd just like to add I think each time that you've come to the town since I've been on the board, I make a request that if there's any thing the town of Charlotte can do to accelerate the rollout of fiber optic for every household in Charlotte, to please come see us, and we appreciate all the fiber optic that you are rolling out.
Perfect. that's beyond my pay grade, but I'll certainly pass that on to the powers that be, and I'll be happy to hear those words.
Great. Yeah, we really appreciate the service, and having
Yes.
high-speed broadband is just a
Oh, yeah.
necessity these days.
Great. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
I guess, did you want to just hear from Junior that everything is good?
Yeah, I was kind of.
Yes, everything's fine with me.
You spoke with.
That's what matters. Okay.
Thank you, Junior. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? 5-0. Thank you, Art.
Okay, thank you. And
Have a good night.
I'll wait to get that from you.
Okay, yeah, it'll be, so everyone, it needs to be signed. I'll put it in the town clerk's office and sign it at your earliest convenience.
Yep. Good.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Dean, we all need to sign?
Yeah, this one does. The petition has a space.
No
for
problem.
everyone. Unless you want to designate, the chair to sign, you could do that, or vice chair.
I would make that amendment. Do that. I'm not sure I could get down there in the next couple of days.
Louise, you're muted.
People have been trying to mute me for years, but okay. I'm just saying, I'm going with Carrie. Matt, if you don't mind.
Not at all. All those in favor of the amendment to the motion and the second indicate by saying aye to have the chair sign.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. The 7:30 item, I would like, I received an email from the lister, wondering if we could think about putting that one off since there's no rush and she is not going anywhere.
I think she's on the phone, but I mean, not on the phone. She is on the phone.
I am on phone.
Okay.
Hi, Betsy. I was going to just ask to emails to have us just postpone this decision, if that's still something you want to do, or I'd leave it up to your discretion.
Well, you'll have to appoint me at least, because the time is running out, 45 days from when you voted to eliminate the Board of Listers. You need to appoint me as the assessor.
So appoint you as an interim assessor?
That is correct.
So I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Can I discuss?
Yep.
Yeah.
Discuss.
So Betsy marked up the job description. So to move from lister to assessor, because currently we don't have a position called assessor. So it's very similar, but it is a change of position. So I guess wondered if you wanted to just approve that position first and then approve Betsy. I think what she has indicated select board should delay on is hiring outside or advertising for this position, and have Betsy, who is willing to do this until situations improve and she can train somebody.
Good.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't. I will move that we approve the job description for the assessor as presented in our package.
Okay.
We're not really not there yet, are we?
Oh, sorry. Oh, well, I thought, I could be wrong, Frank, and keep me honest here. I thought we had to approve the position before we put Betsy in it.
I'll jump in. I think you just have to approve me. I think the assessor has already been approved when you did town meeting. And now you're just approving me as the assessor, who will be happy to do this until the environment is a little more friendly and for a transition. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess for the nuts and bolts, Betsy, would you be okay with not having a job description for the time being and being at the same pay rate as you were as the lister?
I would, but I mean, I think chief lister and assessor are one and the same. I mean, for the most part, I think it was more semantics with the job description instead of lister, it's assessor.
Yeah, I think if like at the next meeting, we could carve out some time to really go through that job description and approve it, or mark it up and approve it at the following select board meeting. I think board members would be more comfortable with that, is my kind of.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine with me.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
I'm okay with that.
In that gray area for a month here.
Right. I understand what you're saying, and then you can take a look at it and have a little more time to digest it all.
Yeah. Okay, so are people okay with the appointment of Betsy Tegatz as the assessor being approved at the same pay rate as the chief position was? And to have the job description approved at a later date?
Yes.
Okay. Second to that friendly amendment? I can't remember who made the motion.
I made the motion.
Thank you. Did anyone second it?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, thanks. Is there more discussion?
Not from me.
No.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, thank you, Betsy, and stay tuned. We'll have some documents marked up for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, bye.
Is Carrie still here? Oh yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Nice. Okay, for the 8 o'clock. Do you know if? Oh, you're muted, Dean. Do you know if Mr. Tonino? It's hard to.
He is planning to. I can try to contact him and see if he's available to come on early.
Or we could just move some things up. Do we have minutes to look at?
Sure. Yep.
I think we got several.
Yeah. Let's do minutes.
Okay.
Let's see.
Well, I've reviewed all the minutes because, like, what else am I going to do all day? Other than cook. And they all look fine to me. But I mean, others may have different ideas. But just my 2 cents.
We're going to do these one at a time. Make a motion to approve
Sure.
the minutes of March 18th as may be amended.
Thanks, Frank.
Second.
Seconded by Carrie.
I had a question on line 22. There's public informational hearing for Australian ballot vote.
Oh, you're right. That was the public, should have been, the public information was on the 6th.
Right. I mean, I think that this is actually just a copying the agenda. And if you look above that, the 510 item, April 6th, had 2 items. So it's basically 2 bullets. So I think what it's saying is the public information hearing is for the Australian ballot vote that at that point was to occur on April 7th. So we could add to occur on April 7th.
So it's just a kind of, it just doesn't, it looks like it's 2 separate bullets, that's all.
Yeah, it was a quote from the agenda. That's how the agenda was worded.
which one are you doing right now? 23?
18.
18, okay.
I guess that's all I really had as a comment.
I don't know if Matt's still there. Frank, do you want to call for a vote?
Yeah, all in favor of the motion of approving the minutes for March 18th?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thank you, Frank. I was getting relocated here.
Oh, that's fine. Carrie, did you say aye?
I did, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll do the next one.
Sure.
Motion to approve the minutes of March 23rd as may be amended.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
I'll let you get back to it, Matt.
Thank you. Discussion?
On the discussion.
Yeah.
Line, let's see, what is it? 148 on your minutes. Lynn, I think that's James and not Frank said a one-time event.
Okay, that was my bad. Lynn, you have that?
Thank you.
And if we're gonna call James, I think we ought to do it consistently. On line 171, it says Jim.
Okay.
Line 179 says Jim, so just go through the whole thing.
James is your preference?
James is my preference.
Certainly.
It keeps my mother happy. And that's important.
I have no other corrections.
There's no more discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? For, what was your vote, Louise?
Aye, sorry,
Aye.
I had to.
All good. 5-0. Oh, you're back to mute. I wonder why it does that.
It's because I do it and never mind. I got to get better. I'm working on it.
Quick draw. Is there a motion? What's next?
April 3rd.
Minutes for April 3rd, 2020. I'll make that motion as may be amended. Is there a second?
Second.
there's no amendments? Or are there?
Nope, not from me.
Looks good.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 5-0. Make a motion to approve the minutes of April 6th as may be amended.
I'll second that.
So as I noted in an email, there's two, I guess two meetings really, the select board meeting and the town meeting. So there's two, there's a set of minutes for each.
There are no amendments, so people feel ready or still going through it?
I'm good.
Well, I'm just trying to make sure that whatever's in the full minutes are the same as what's in this carved out piece.
So that the town meeting portion is not included in the select board portion, except to say the select board motion to what does it say? Suspend the select board meeting and then reconvene the town meeting.
Come be part of the meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, look.
Well, because it has the Charles Russell red in the full copy and it has that in the,
Okay.
Yeah.
and then it has Charles Russell identified the non-voters of meeting were only Dean Block, and you have that here too.
Okay, maybe
Yeah, I think you just want to strike lines 56 through 60
70
through
70.
through 66, right?
No, through
Oh yeah, you're right.
Through 70.
71, yeah. Because the motion to reconvene would have happened in the town meeting.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks. Sorry. Lynn, did you get that? Yep.
Just want to make sure they stay separate, that's all.
Yeah, my fault.
Keep town meeting out of our select board meeting.
That's it. So we're approving just which one are we approving? The full minutes?
The select board meeting without the town meeting piece.
Okay. So let me look a little farther then. I don't think I had anything else.
Nick,
Oh,
now watch The Simpsons.
no,
Why not?
because
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 You guys worry
Aye.
about.
Oh, God, this is why,
we're voting about minute. We've taken.
Oh, I
notes.
thought you were talking about me.
No, we weren't.
No, is that Tristan?
It
Yes.
is.
Hi, Tristan.
See, look, there's Matt.
Hi.
So yeah, 5-0, motion carries.
He's in charge. Matt's in charge.
Do you think I should watch
That
The
term
Simpsons?
loosely.
Maddie's asking if you think he should watch The Simpsons, and I can tell you that your answer will be no.
That's what
It's
she said.
answered.
Yes. My answer is no. Sorry.
That's all right. He's fine. He's never asked that question. I'm sure it's just being a child when your mom's on the phone or in a meeting.
Give him an inch.
Yep. Maybe it can be The Simpsons.
Are there any select board updates? We have about 12 minutes.
Did you get a vote on that last one?
Yeah, it was 5-0, motion carried. Louise?
Yeah, I just have a couple of updates based on, well, first of all, I hope you've gotten my beach reports. You know, we got to keep everybody, that's looking good. There's one big piece of trash, which is a big barrel, which I'll try and get down there tomorrow with some waders on and get it out. But to me, it looks good. I mean, you know, it looks like everybody's doing the distancing. People on Sunday were using the courts, but they very far apart. I thought that was really good, and people were actually using it. So that I'm very happy with that, because I think we need to have places for people to go. The library, I am working with Beth Merritt and with Mary to come up with a comprehensive accounting, like where are we with the multiple accounts for the library, and everybody's been super cooperative, so that'll all come together. And then the only other one is the senior center, and you know, I think it's really hard that they're closed for a lot of people in town. And as you heard from Chris, I think it's just wonderful that we'll have a comprehensive way for folks to get food. So that's mine. Got no more.
Thank you. And thank you for the beach cleanup. That's, you know, it's a little thing that makes a huge difference. Everyone sees that.
Well, you know, hey, man, I can't play tennis. I can't play ice hockey. You know, so I might as well clean up the beach.
And Dean, I was wondering where we're at with the power bill. Or remember, we had that problem with the well
pump.
The well pump, and
Fritz had indicated it was a possible broken check valve.
Actually, I stuck my nose into this one, and I apologize if we ended up paying $350, but we thought it was a pump issue. So I kind of leaned on the folks who do our pump work, and they were great. They went out there. I went out there with them, and they said it's not a pump problem. It's a plumbing problem, because the hose. And now I'm way. You know, I have no idea what I'm talking about really. But I looked down in the hole, and it was a hose, and so someone was supposed to call a plumber to get that fixed. I think Mary's point, and I talked to her today about this, is that we need a way to make sure that this electric bill, which runs, I think, about 125, Carrie, something like that, $130 a month, we need to get it over to the beneficiaries of the well, the pump, which I'm fine with. I just, how we do it is not clear. I mean,
what changed?
Well, I don't think unless we didn't fix the hose.
Because the price went up significantly. So there was some change.
I think there was a leak in there at one point. So the pump kept pumping.
Yeah.
And so that would increase the power for that month or two. That needed to be fixed. And the other thing is the town, I don't think is the town using any water out of that well?
No.
I think it just goes to, it's just being used by the places up by the old lantern.
I think that's, Frank, you're absolutely right on that one. Again, to repeat, I went out there and took a look, but maybe I'm wondering if we ever got anyone, a plumber to go out and replace the hose, but that's the lower level of issues. The bigger issue is we have to find a strategy to offload this electric bill on the beneficiaries.
So on the latter point, I put that on an agenda or on the work plan. I think we're going to be talking about the salt shed in, forget whether it's August or September. So kind of the same property or related, in a related to that is the well.
Has anyone contacted the beneficiaries and said, look, we're not willing to pay for this anymore? I haven't.
Yeah, well, I don't know if anyone put it exactly like that. And the two beneficiaries are the Old Lantern and the Wigmans. And the Wigmans did, I believe, hire a plumber to have the situation fixed.
Okay.
The current situation, but that's not the long-term. The long-term issue is the well is on our property that we can't really use because they have rights to it.
So can we approach them and say, you want to take care of this bill? That's not a town's responsibility to do it?
Yeah, is there a formal agreement here? I mean, I think the easy thing is for the town to start sending the bill.
Yeah.
And they have rights to the well, but they don't have rights to free power.
Yeah, I don't know if there's been any discussion in that vein in the past or not.
Well, maybe it's something we can do right off here. We don't have to wait until September. I mean, seems like you can talk to them right off and say, you need to pay for the power bill.
Would people be okay with Dean spending a little time researching any original documentation or agreement? Find out.
I have no problem with that. My understanding, and this, I could be 100% wrong on this, was that when this transfer was made, there was no documentation. But, but I think communication to them that they need to pay this on an ongoing basis. Our draconian remedy is to just stop the power.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it is a little bit more complicated because the deeds to them do include rights to use the well. It does include, I believe, the responsibility for maintaining it, but it's also complicated by the fact that there's two parties that have rights. So do we split the bill, or do we, how do we determine which party is to pay for it?
Well, if they're not willing to come,
the thing is that we don't want that the town isn't using it. How they would decide to split the power bill would be up to them.
I agree with Frank.
Yeah.
At this point, it's just there shouldn't be any expense for power for the town based on we're not using anything, and they should split it themselves and figure this out as anybody would if they were co-owners in a well.
A well, a driveway, whatever it is, people come up with their own system of fare. They can meter it. They can come up with a gentleman's agreement.
They can decide on the size of their use that they suspect each one of them have and come up with a percentage. How they do it isn't up to us, really.
I agree with you, Frank. I just think that, our draconian measure is we just basically say to Green Mountain Power, we're not paying this anymore. It's not ours.
Well, the thing is, we'd have to figure out how we're going to handle it based on whether a bill would, even if it was in the town's name, would be sent to them, or whether we would have to try to bill them and pay it. I mean, I don't think that's really what we should be doing. I mean, I would hope.
No, I was being much nastier than that. Trust me, I was being a real bitch on this one, which is just cut it off, and you don't have any water. So now what are you going to do?
Well, right. I mean, and that was going to be my second choice, is that either one or both of them would have to get the meter put in their name so that they pay for it and they get the bill.
I just think somebody needs to communicate with them, that's all.
Yeah, and we may need to draft an actual document that offloads all fiscal responsibility. If they want rights to that water, and they would need to sign that moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think look into it. Have Dean look into it and see what was agreed upon and what can be done.
Great.
I think, is that Jason in the, there's someone, yeah. Someone's here for the 8:10 item, which we haven't quite gotten to.
Well, we're 2 minutes off from Tonino. If he's gonna be here, I'd hate to go late.
Yeah. Should I give him a quick call?
Are there people on the board who are not familiar with Dick Tonino?
Yeah, I'm not.
Also a doctor. I grew up with his daughter. He's been with Thompson's Point Wastewater Advisory Committee since predating my time on the board, and was kind of instrumental in that letter that went out to the leaseholders and drafting that. So he's a real asset for the town and is very active in the summer community there. And his camp is right next to Whiskey Bay, where most people bring their dogs. And he's been really gracious about heavy dog usage on a section of the beach that is contiguous with where his camp is.
I couldn't reach him. I just left a message.
Do people want to go to the next agenda item and come back to this, or go ahead and reappoint him?
I'm fine with reappointing.
So actually, this is a new appointment. He is taking the place of Rick Pete, who was on the advisory committee and didn't seek reappointment.
Oh, so
this is new then.
Dick is on the Thompson's Point Leaseholders Association?
Yeah, he's president of the Leaseholders Association.
My mistake. I apologize about that. So that's an association among the leaseholders, and this is the Thompson's Point Wastewater Advisory Committee.
Right.
They're charged with setting the annual rates.
Well, they make recommendations
to the select board.
Right. Yeah.
And then they work with the operator, Steve Williams, to look at what the capital improvements are going to need to be to have an extra piece in that rate calculation to kind of save up money for their capital fund for future repairs.
And Jim and I are on that committee, and Mary sits in on the meetings. And I think just the committee in general plays an important liaison role with the rest of the leaseholders. Sort of it provides, it's a mixing of the leaseholders and the town in terms of membership.
Well, I mean, I would move his appointment because it sounds like the kind of people, he's a great guy and we need him.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second. It sounds like he's familiar with Thompson's Point.
Yep. Any more discussion? Any questions?
No.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Still ahead of schedule. Carolyn S. Colburn, a request for authorization to drill a well to serve lots 194 to 197, Thompson's Point, and apply for the necessary permit. Jason,
Yep.
can you introduce yourself? And yeah.
Sure. Jason Barnard Jarvis. I've worked for Will Coburn on this project. Also worked for Dick Tonino, was his neighbor. We did the same thing. As with Dick Tonino, Will is also looking to drill a replacement well. We filed an application with the town water and wastewater to have the well drilled. It's required because it's going to serve 2 residential structures, and that will take the place of the existing Thompson Point water system. They will be disconnected as part of this. So the goal here is to drill a well that's going to serve both structures. Once the permit is issued, we'd be able to drill that well. We do have maps that are on file, site plans that are on file with the town. We did send that in with the wastewater package, so that would maybe Dean can pull that up, or I'm not sure, but the well would be to serve 2 structures. That is the goal, to disconnect from the water system as part of the project,
Jason, I had a quick question.
Sure.
If they do disconnect from the water system, does that in any way negatively impact the permitting or the operation of the water system?
To the best of my knowledge, it does not negatively impact the water system operation. It would just more or less decrease the flows and the demand on them. So it would help it out in terms of a supply demand.
It's Louise. I thought that we'd had this discussion some time ago, and that we had a general policy of no new wells, but that encouraging people to stay on the water system. And I really, really support that policy. And I am not hearing anything. Sorry, I think there must be a raccoon on my front porch. I'm not hearing anything that's compelling as to why we should allow more wells, because I thought that our overall, after discussing this, our conclusion was we really want to have folks use the water system. I heard what you said about it's less demand on the water system, but at the same time, it's less revenue for the water system. So I'm not hearing any compelling reason on this.
Now, just out of curiosity, is there a policy that not allowed to have a well on the property in terms of?
Policy may be overstating it, and I don't want to overstate it, but we've had this discussion as a board previously, and I think we, at least my memory, which is foggy, of course, was that we would be very, very reluctant to grant any more well permits, and I'm not hearing any compelling reason. So, team, keep me honest. If you don't remember it the same way I do, but I think our overall strategy is to have people stay on the water system. But I've said my piece, so I don't want to hear.
I'll ask the question. I wasn't aware of a policy or wasn't present during the other meetings. I know last year we drilled a well for Dick Tonino, who was Mr. Colburn's neighbor. They both approached me to look at the well locations and site the replacement well. I think Dick handled his own formalities and meetings with the town, but I wasn't aware of a policy.
Well, again, I may be overstating it by saying it's a policy. I just know that it may have been Mr. Tonino's well. It came up, and it came up kind of right after we had been working on the water system, and it seemed incongruous to us, to me at least, that we would be granting well drilling permits when we have a water system out there. So I don't want to overstate it by saying it's a policy, but that was sort of my understanding. And I just don't know what everyone else thinks, but I'm kind of the mind that says, what are we doing with the water system if people don't use it? So I don't know. Anyway, I've said my piece.
Can I just ask, is the person on the phone at 802-598-5628 on this topic or a different topic?
This is Jenny Cole, and I was calling in for a different topic.
Okay, I'm just going to mute you temporarily, Jenny. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
How many wells could we put down there? Could be drilled down there? Are we looking to do all of them someday?
I don't believe
Other people.
all of them.
If I have a question for you.
Sure.
Yeah, on the first page of the document here, you talk about 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom seasonal dwellings.
Correct.
In the last line of that first paragraph, it says here, a replacement drill well will provide water to both seasonal dwellings in the accessory structure.
Yes.
So it's actually going to 3 places, right?
It is. It is. One of them is a workshop.
Okay. I don't know if that makes any difference or not. I mean,
It doesn't in terms of yield. What that has is a convenience bathroom or water and wastewater flows. That it's not counted as an occupancy for that structure. It's merely just a convenience bathroom in that structure.
so that third structure, Matt, help me with this. I think we were there. That was the one on the right.
It is.
Yeah. So that isn't, nobody stays there.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, but anything may have flows that would go into the wastewater system.
They would, but they're not. If it's an accessory structure such as a wood shop or some other form that does not have a kitchen or a bedroom, they actually don't quantify that because that's not a residence or where someone would stay. That's a convenience bathroom. If you're looking at the state permitting and hence the town permitting, that does not actually tally up or increase the flows. It's the same thing as if you had to use the restroom in the house. It's a convenience bathroom. You wouldn't have to trot across the yard to the residence.
Okay, so I was just wondering because in our wastewater ordinance it talks about fixtures, doesn't talk about just where whether it's in an accessory structure or not.
They probably fixture demand, that would be more towards the water system. That would be for the water fixture demand would be demand on the well with how many fixture units you have, and that's a calculation.
Okay, I'm just saying it's part of our calculation as far as I know for our wastewater permit.
The accessory structure wouldn't have any designated flows in accordance with the current state regs, which the town has adopted.
Well, I'm not talking about whether it's in with state regs. I'm talking about whether an accessory structure with a bathroom would change the daily flows. And
no, they would not. They would not.
Those are metered, right?
It could be metered. We've designated them with the table through the wastewater regs, which are based on bedrooms and occupancy. So there's still, that third structure would not be able to be occupied. There's actually, it's a zero net to that building. There's not actually considered an increase in flows associated with the property. And it's a convenience bathroom in that structure, essentially what it is.
I have a question about the legality of the well. I know the town owns the land and the land is leased.
Yep.
Does the town own the well?
Good point. I'm not quite sure. I would assume it's part of the earth. Once you drill the casing and it's into the bedrock, I mean, that's actually part of, it's an open hole bedrock well. They very well could. I mean, I know they don't own the structures, but the structures are actually on top of. So I don't have an answer to that.
Okay. My current understanding is that the town would. It might be something that we're interested in looking into because the alternative of the water district is a private water district. It's not town owned.
Yep.
So this would be increasing, by drilling a well, it would be increasing the town's assets.
It would. I would look at it like you would, the town or the owner of that property would actually own the well, because it's, like I said, it's an open hold well that's part of the earth. I mean, it's there, whether the structures are there or not, that's going to be there to come, years to come.
I remember some of the discussion that Louise was referencing about the concern about drilling deep wells. Some are, I think, like 600 feet deep at Thompson's Point. And just wondering, do you have any sense? I know it's somewhat of an art and somewhat of a science about, are there limitations to that resource on Thompson's Point?
There's not really, I wouldn't consider Vermont or the whole Northeast of having really any limitations in water. There's areas that's harder to get. This not being one of them. I know I can't remember offhand, but I know we had a pretty good yield at Dick Tonino's well. Everything's based on the wells that are around. So I don't see it being an issue where it's going to impact other water supplies that are close by. There's just not, there's always seems to be a pretty decent source of water out there. And I did talk to the well driller who did Dick's well, and he's pretty confident that there's a very good aquifer down there that they can tap into that should serve numerous wells.
Julianne?
Yeah, I just had a question. So I remember the discussions about the leaseholders and the certain groups that didn't want to hook on to Thompson's Point to the wastewater system. I think there were 3 families that there were. Would this be a new? Wasn't there 3 families that didn't want to hook on, and then
that was for the wastewater, I thought, and this is for the freshwater.
Oh, okay. So it's a different. Okay, I thought that was kind of related to the number of leaseholders that were interested in having the system. Okay, thank you.
And then this discussion kind of bridged the two with Frank's discussion about any difference on the load to the town's wastewater, switching over from because the water district is, if I understand correctly, is pulling water directly out of the lake and treating it and then distributing it to a group of people who have signed an agreement over a historical period. Whereas people with wells on the Thompson's Point leased camps are actually getting water out of a well to service their buildings.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
How is the water down there? What? Is it?
Dick Tonino's well was really good. With this new well, we'll actually be collecting a set of water samples because it serves 2 structures. Generally speaking, it's fairly decent water.
But I was thinking, how many other people are going to come to the board asking to have their own well?
I don't have an answer to that. I've worked on these 2 projects. I'm not sure.
I just didn't know if this was a new trend.
It's certainly been happening. I think when I first came on the board 6 years ago, there was an incident of someone drilling a well without asking permission from the town. And so that ruffled some feathers. And I think it was made clear that if anyone wants to be drilling wells on the town's land, they need to be getting permission from the town. Is that accurate, Dean?
Yeah, and that's improved quite a bit. So now I haven't heard of people drilling without first getting permission. I think the issue Louise is raising is for the camps that are on the private system, that's going to be an expensive system to operate. And if more and more camps transition away from that, there's going to be, perhaps some left either holding the bag that they, it's not quite clear how they'll, whether there's enough water, how big is that aquifer to be able to serve, how many camps. So I think I understand Louise's concern. I'm not sure what the answer to it is.
Do you know how many are on the water district?
I think it's around 30 or 33 or 34. Is that right, Jason?
That seems right. When I talked to Mr. Williams before, I think it was low to mid 30s is what he had mentioned.
And then how many, the rest are on wells? How many camps are down there?
Rest in terms of Thompson's Point?
Yeah.
Around 200. So they're not on wells. Some of them are on lake water. Quite a few are on lake water.
Just individually pulling like any other people on the lake.
Yeah.
Jason, is it actually a independent aquifer, or is it water just leaking out of the bottom of the lake?
Well,
600 feet.
Hopefully it's not. It would be generated from a fracture in the bedrock. That is where it would be coming from. Not to say that you wouldn't pull. It's a carbonate rock out there, so there's a number of fractures. Not to say that it wouldn't, but it's not supposed to be direct influence from the lake with these.
It's what they call, right, the bathtub effect, because we live on the lake and we have a 750-foot well. Where's my son when I need him? The geologist. It's something, right? I mean, you're the guy that knows this stuff, but the closer you get to the lake, the farther down you got to go.
That does seem to be the case with how the rock is fractured, but it's not always the case. Well drilling is a crapshoot. I've drilled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of wells, and I've drilled them 20 feet apart and had one 600 feet and one 200 feet. So it's all where you hit the fracture. There's generally an idea when you go out. I don't remember what we had in Dick's for a depth, but I know he didn't go super deep, I believe, in his well.
Well, no, I understand it. It's a crapshoot. I think, and I don't mean to. I feel badly that you're coming to us, but there is and we can't give you. I mean, there is a policy issue here that we need to think through, which is what should we be doing out on Thompson's Point about new wells? And I'm sorry that you're getting caught in the crosshairs on.
That's all right. That's part of it.
Let's just say, just so that I kind of have a better sense of the numbers, if it was a 500-foot well, how much would that cost the renter?
Probably $12,000, 12 to somewhere in there.
You know or Dean, do you know what an average annual cost is for water with the water district?
I mean, I think when we were down there, so they're in the process of implementing a new treatment system. And I think we talked to Mr. Colburn, he said in the neighborhood of $3,000 a year per camp, per leaseholder to maintain it.
So in 4 years, the well will have paid for itself, maybe 5 with electrical and pump included.
Yeah. And I believe there's a hook-on fee, right, Dean? Is there an initial investment they have to?
Oh, for the system?
For the system?
I mean, they're all hooked up. I have to say I don't know that much about the proposed treatment system.
Okay.
I mean, they're all connected already. I think it's just changing the treatment system.
I thought there was some upgrade cost, that initial upgrade cost, and then the annual fee.
Okay, maybe that could be.
I think I know the price tag was pretty big, and that's kind of what maybe driving some of these wells.
For sure. Yeah.
That's like $100,000 a year to operate that water district in revenue. There's 33 camps at $3,000 a year.
Right.
Well, I think Louise has made some strong points. James, Carrie, Frank, you have positions you want to weigh in?
I think we need to look at this for the future. I'm fine with this myself right now, but I think maybe it should be something on a work plan to look at what ifs, maybe. I don't know. That's one of my thoughts. My other thought is, wait and see if another one comes before us. And if it looks like it's a trend, then maybe we should look at it then.
Well, again, I'm looking at it like Matt is and thinking if people start dropping off from the existing system, it's going to be hard for the few that are left if it does get to that point.
Yeah, I mean, it almost financially, it seems like 32 other people will be making the same decision at some point down the road. I don't know that
They could, I mean, hope that wouldn't be the case, but you may have some camps that come on too, that are currently just pulling their own lake water and it's not potable. So you may get other camps that actually connect. So there may be it may be a net gain or a net loss, but I don't think everybody will end up drilling a well. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I wouldn't think so if the water system's there. The more people that they can encourage to add on to this and keep the cost down. I mean, I think that's the biggest factor comes down to cost.
Well, that and what would it cost to, if you keep adding people on, when does the supply run out even for their system? How many camps could it supply water to? We don't know that either.
No, I think it was Otter Creek Engineering did the upgrade, did the design. I think someone did, they would have an idea what the existing or what the proposed upgraded system could handle. I'm not sure. Dean, do you recall who did the?
Yeah, it is Otter Creek. And I don't know if there's a max. I know they have to come back to the select board to add any other camps onto it. I didn't get the sense there's a whole lot more capacity, but it sounds like they have this amount of camps they want to serve, and that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Maybe if I can make a suggestion, maybe if you want to sign me, I'll research this out and come back to the board with answers to some of those questions.
I think my personal take after hearing everything is I would be in favor of approving this one with the understanding, out of fairness to not having an existing policy or moratorium on approving well drilling. But with a caveat that the 5 of us commit to not approving any more until we make a policy. And maybe let the Thompson's Point leaseholders know that we're changing gears on what the status quo has been.
I agree with that. Good idea.
I can go along with that, but that I thought, and my memory is shoddy, but I thought that's where we were last time, that we weren't going to do this again until we kind of worked around it. But I can go along with that. I think there's a couple of legal issues. One is who owns the well, which probably is not that complicated. But the other big policy issue we have to face is what do we want? What are we thinking about the future out there? And what do we want the water supply to look like? And anyway, but I can go along with that if that's what everyone else wants to do.
Okay. Dean, well, I guess I could make it in the motion. I'll make a motion to approve a request for authorization to drill the well to serve lots 194 through 197 for Carolyn S. Colburn on Thompson's Point, and to allow them to apply for the necessary permits. And to have Dean add to the select board's work plan.
I have to go upstairs. I think my husband fell.
Yep. To visit.
Okay. All right. Sorry, guys, I'm back. He's fine.
Good.
Just stubbed his toe.
So yeah.
You all have little kids. I got a big kid.
And to have Dean add to the select board work plan time to investigate the select board's policy on approving any new wells.
Question? Do you also want to, either me or you, communicate to the Thompson's Point Association that no new wells will be approved in the interim?
Yes. And to have interested parties contact us.
And could we have somebody look at any impact this may have on the wastewater system?
I
don't know if that'd be Steve or if it'd be Daniel.
Oh, Steve did, he was going to review just the layout to see whether there were any concerns on that. And actually I did talk with him today and he didn't mention it. I know he's doing some work down there. He's actually rebuilding the crib where the pump station is housed. So he's been down there all weekend. And he didn't mention a concern, but I guess if you want to say, run this by Steve just to confirm that and make any adjustments as needed.
I'll take that, and I guess still waiting for a second to the longest motion of my life.
I'll second that.
Okay, so Louise, effectively, if this motion passes, there will be a moratorium until the select board works on this.
And I'm good on that. I just think we need to quote my good friend Carrie, we need to think long-term.
That was a good quote. Okay, any more discussion?
No.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, I'll vote for it.
5-0. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate your time and expertise.
Thank you. We'll see y'all.
I think Jenny Cole is here for discussion of revisiting notice requirements, which is 8:30 on the agenda. And Junior is here for, I think, the addition to the agenda regarding closing Thompson's Point Road for the installation of the railroad.
Okay, is anyone here for the 8:15 item? The Thompson's Point lease renewal?
Looks like we lost Jenny.
Okay, well, let's do that one. It's next. The Thompson's Point lease renewal, lots 42 and 43 at 72 Tall Pines Way. Is there a motion to renew this, and we'll have discussion after?
I'll move the approval of the leases.
Good.
Is there a second?
I'll second the second.
They're currently the leaseholders, Dean?
Yep.
Is there any discussion? Is this authorizing the chair to sign? You're muted, Frank.
I was just wondering if sometime in the future we should put something about wells in the lease.
Yeah, I think definitely. So does Louise. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's less, just to comment on that, it's less of an issue where it's not the community system. You know, I think the community system only serves 30 to 34 camps. So the rest of the point, it doesn't really matter.
Well, it would matter in one point that it would be a well drilled on town land. So maybe something in the lease that would, or maybe something in something that would say that if a well is drilled on a piece of town land, that it belongs to the town.
Okay.
At the least, it also, you know, globally impacts Thompson's Point, because if someone's currently pulling from the lake by themselves, it's really a town policy issue. To Louise's point, do we want them contributing and knocking down the cost of everyone out there to the waste, to the water district system, or do we want them investing on the town property and digging another well? You know, it really is a value judgment decision point for everyone currently pulling from the lake, of, you know, what the town thinks is the best course for the future.
True. So, vote.
Yeah, thank you. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Is Jenny back, or should we adjourn as the select board and reconvene as the liquor control?
Yeah, I don't see her back.
I'll make a motion to adjourn as the select board and reconvene as the liquor control board.
I'll move that.
Is there a second? I'll second.
Does this mean I can have a glass of wine now?
I'm pretty sure that's not
Okay.
a conflict of interest. Anyone want to make some motions?
So we want to do these one at a time or as a group? I mean,
think
probably legally it has to be one at a time.
I think so. And Dean, do you have the checks?
Yeah, we have the checks, and they all have to be signed by a quorum of the board. So they're in the town clerk's office on the counter.
Great.
So I'll move to renew class 2, a second class license to sell malt and vinous beverages, May 1st, 2020, April 30th, 2021 for PBM Acquisition LLC, doing business as Point Bay Marina.
Second.
Second one.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed, 5-0. I'll make a motion to renew the tobacco license to sell tobacco from May 1st, 2020 to April 30, 2021 for Tenny Enterprises.
I think these two could be put together because it's a single form.
And a renewal of a second class license to sell malt and vinous beverages, May 1st, 2020 to April 30, 2021 as well.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 I abstain.
4-0-1. Is there another motion?
motion for a second class license to Wits End LLC, doing business as the Old Brick Store, to sell malt and vinous beverages May 1st, 2020 to April 30th, 2021.
Second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No, but they're a good place to get stuff to eat, and you can just put your money and your credit card in the window, and out you can get whatever wine or beer or gin or whatever you drink. It's a good place to patronize. So was that a second? I think it was a second. Okay.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. I'll make a motion to adjourn as the Liquor Control Board and reconvene as the Select Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Gary seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The 8:30, revisit notice requirements for town committees, boards, and commissions.
So this came up, I guess, for a couple of reasons. We received some comments back from various boards that the requirement for posting 3 times in Front Porch Forum was a bit onerous and not required by statute. And also to put it in the newspaper, it is not required by statute for most of the boards except for planning and zoning. So it just, I guess, I think the concern that I think the board was responding to is with this new format and the fact that various places around town where we normally post meeting notices are closed, well, the town hall for one. I think the concern was to try to make sure people know about the meetings in advance. And maybe in some people's minds, we went a little bit overboard. So that's why it just wanted to check back with the board on their thought on this.
I mean, I know the requirement for most boards is only like 48 hours to warn a regular meeting.
Right.
So to have it, I mean, I don't see any problem with doing it at least a couple times, to have it, ahead of time as far as possible, and then maybe the day before or the day of, if possible. So I think having 3 times or a week in advance isn't necessary, but it would be nice because, I mean, not everybody looks at Front Porch Forum every single day. And the other thing I would like to require is that every committee get it posted on the town website, on the meeting agenda calendar, in plenty of time before the meeting, hopefully before the even month starts, so that when people turn the page on the month, that they can look at all the meetings that are, hopefully look at all the meetings that are potential meetings at least.
Right.
So at least bookmarked as potential meetings. And if they are being held, then agenda can be put in with the Zoom address and everything.
One remedy, because a lot of this seems to be due to the inconsistency of all the other committees' meeting schedules. The Select Board sets our regular meetings, and we have a calendar set for a fiscal year. We could ask all the committees, commissions, and boards at their next meeting to set a regular schedule and post all of their meetings for the next year on the town calendar. And that way, people in town, they could be changed, right, with notice. But to your point, Frank, people don't know this, and they don't have a place to go to because town hall's closed. If it's not on the website, then they literally have to like drip feed information to find out every issue of Front Porch Forum when a meeting might be. That doesn't seem like a good system.
Right, and that's why I'm
People
trying
want
to get
that.
to the point that we got to get it on a local place, which I was hoping we could keep it on our own town calendar, meeting and agenda calendar, so that even if they, you know, I understand they want to do the whole post the agenda on Front Porch Forum thing, I think is a good idea, but it may not get to everybody. Where if they have it on, if they have a link there, they can just say there's a link to go on the town website, and they have their meeting calendar, and their meeting calendar they could even put a link on their meeting calendar or their agenda that leads them to the materials that are going to be discussed that night.
People want that, Frank.
I mean, I know that maybe the energy committee, and you know, whether the recreation, whether all these different committees and boards post any information about what they're discussing.
Right, because we have a whole meeting packet,
right?
Not just an agenda, and then people can go through that and really see the substance of what our meeting will be like.
Right, and that's what I'm hoping will come out of this is we'll have a meeting, an agenda calendar, and it'll have a link within the agenda on the calendar to be able to put materials on, so people that do go to these meetings via Zoom or even personally can look at information before they actually have the meeting.
So do we want to ask committees, commissions, and boards to generate a year's worth of regularly scheduled meetings and submit those to be put on the town calendar? And then
the energy committee already does that. They already put on all their meetings. They just don't have an agenda attached to them. And they might have attached to one that's going to be soon, but they just put, you know, they put the thing on the meeting on the calendar for a possible meeting or a regular meeting and go from there. The zoning board and the planning commission has regular meetings, but the zoning board is by appointment only, basically. We schedule them as needed, but we do have an approved calendar that we approved to we're going to do a new one soon for this new year to be able to have it, and it's stated on our website that we meet on the first and third Wednesdays, so it's already on there that we meet on those days, and we try to make sure that all our meetings, when we do schedule them, happen on those days. And if the energy committee or the rec commission wants to have their one meeting a night or one meeting a month, that's fine. Just put it on there and come up with the agenda as soon as possible.
As the month comes along, right?
Right.
Frank, I agree with Frank. The committee should have, like, the senior center has meetings scheduled every, I don't know, the first Tuesday of each month, doesn't matter. And yeah, that's not too much to ask.
I was going to ask
heard
what
several people want this.
Yeah. Okay. Bill?
Hey, guys. Thank you. This has been brought to our attention on a number of occasions before, speaking for recreation anyway. And I think we have now done that through Dean, you know, to have our meetings the second Tuesday, the second Tuesday of every month at a certain time. And that is now on the website, just so you know.
Right.
Is it on the meeting calendar?
One of the things as a chairperson, I have never and this could be my own lack of inquisition, but I've never had access to actually posting agendas or items on the town website. I've never had that facility or known how to do that. Now I'm willing to be educated. Fortunately, we have Nicole who does that for us, posting the agendas on the website. I know we're on the meeting calendar, right, Dean?
Well,
I don't see you in April.
I don't see it there.
I don't see it in May.
I know you posted on, Bill posted on Front Porch Forum, but I don't
Yeah,
see.
and we're sticking to it. That any
Hey,
meeting.
but listen,
that is
I want to know,
scheduled-
where is Bill really? Is he really on some white sand beach or no? No, you're not.
Keep you guessing, Louise.
Okay.
So, okay, how do we then do that? Well, I mean, honestly, I looked the other day on meetings and agendas on the website, and I had seen that recreation was on there for the second Tuesday, and I may not be looking in the right place on the website.
Maybe you're looking at a recreation.
No, I was looking at meetings and agendas, and then I think there was an item there that lists schedules of town meetings or calendar of town meetings. And on there were town meetings, listed town meetings.
Yeah. Well,
But if we're not there, we're not there, and that's a moot point. But I just wanted to make sure. I'm telling you right now, we meet the second Tuesday of every month, and I don't know how to get that on the website. We need help with that, and if direct access to the website. I'm happy to use Nicole, and Nicole's been wonderful. We did have the agenda out today for next week's meeting, and again, we were a little frustrated this week. 2 committees had to cancel because we did not have our agendas out 7 days in advance, and regrettably, that was sort of due. If you weren't at the meeting, you did not hear the 7-day notice given by the select board last week. And the actual written notice didn't come out in time to have a 7-day notice. So we had to cancel our meetings for this Tuesday and reschedule them for next week. So if you're still going to go with that 7-day, which I would, hopefully you don't, or you address that issue. But anyway, I'm happy to work with Dean or Nicole to get our meetings posted on the website. Thank you.
So if I can summarize, it sounds like the select board is okay with going back to the statutory 48 hours. And that includes at least one, I'm gonna amend this a little bit. This isn't quite what Frank said, but at least one notice on Front Porch Forum, but then have it on the town website and have a year worth of meetings on the town website. And then as the agenda gets created, at least 48 hours ahead of time, that gets posted onto the website in the calendar section. Is that right?
Yeah, but I'd still like it to be on Front Porch Forum. I still like that idea, but I mean, I don't disagree with Bill having to, do it a week ahead of time, but if it could be done within, the same time it's posted, the 48 hours, within the 48 hours.
Yeah.
Of before the meeting. So, it could be the day before, it could be 2 days before.
Once on Front Porch Forum.
Yeah, just once.
Okay.
But yeah, for me, if every regularly scheduled meeting is on the calendar on the town's website, the 1 week is less important because
right,
we can then put out a message on Front Porch Forum saying, as the town is opening back up its committees, commissions, and boards, and we could maybe come up, I could write something and people could approve that next meeting. Then everyone in town has a standardized system for getting onto these virtual meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I like it.
I guess I'm wondering about offering either Daniel or myself to help with the committees put their agendas on the town website. I mean, I have done that in the past, but sometimes there's turnover on the committees, and then they forget how to do it, and then it doesn't get done.
Actually, Dean, just a quick question. Are there other chairpersons that do directly post to the website, or do most committees chairpersons do that?
At times they have. I think the current chairs are probably not.
Thank you.
Well, it sounds to me like, Dean, this is you and Daniel, when a chair comes on, you spend some time with them and show them how to do it directly, rather than have you or Daniel or anyone else be the conduit. I mean, even I have learned new things, which is very hard to do, but I've learned how to get on Zoom. Very proud of myself. But seriously, Dean, don't you think, when you get a new chair?
Yeah.
Louise, what happened?
Well, I was done.
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry. I finished my oration.
Yeah,
All done.
I guess I'm trying to decide. I mean, I've trained several. I don't know if they've all been chairs. They're not always chairs that do the posting, but committee members, and they tend to do it for a year or so, and then they move on to other things. So I think.
Well, maybe it'd be up to the committees when they assign people positions, the chair, the vice chair, maybe either authorize the chair or the vice chair to do this particular, assign them to do this particular thing, or somebody else on the board.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hard on that. Right.
I mean, I just think it'd be in this time, I think it's going to be easier if there's one location for the town to go to just find where all the meetings are, what the agendas are, maybe, and find whatever documentation that's going to be looked at within that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, to the point.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
And to try and that's going to me, that's going to be the easiest way to communicate on how on getting everybody to know where these meetings are and what's being discussed.
Okay, so we'll try to do some trainings with the chairs or vice chairs or some designated person on each committee.
Yep, I agree.
Sorry, I get long-winded every once in a while.
Oh, no, you weren't. I guess for recreation, they can work out whether it's the chair or Nicole or whoever.
Is Bill got a tan now, or
it looks kind of red?
Can we move along with the agenda instead of talking about Bill? But thank you. Yes. And you made a motion, I think, last week, and you may have to correct it or change it or a new one with regards to the 48-hour notice versus the 7-day notice. Are you going to do something like that, or does that need to be done?
Do we know what the motion was last time?
It was in general to provide a week's notice. I think publish in the newspaper if possible, post on Front Porch Forum 3 times, and put on the town calendar. I think that summarizes it. May not have everything, but that's approximately right.
So what are we gonna do? Try to make a motion to say that we're going to only require no more than 48 hours notice and should be on the, on Front Porch Forum once before the meeting?
I think you could say at least 48 hours notice. I mean, that's
Say no less than, yeah.
no less than.
Put in the town website as well.
Mm-hmm. And have a calendar, a year-long calendar with proposed planned meeting dates.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And times.
Good.
What was
What
that,
time
Gary?
do you need it? The time of the meetings when they start.
Right.
Well, the main thing is to get a bookmark on the calendar to say when the meetings are going to be. Once they put their agenda on, we'll know the time and what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the location with the meeting ID and, that jazz. That'll come with the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
I'll draft that and send it around and copy the select board.
Hey, Carrie, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Walking around the house.
Carrie, you
Tell
can
my
pause
little
your video.
I can.
You can. At the top right, there's 3 little dots.
But you don't have to.
No. And if you click on the 3 dots, yeah, you
I'm
just
all right
go
now.
to the top of your. Oh,
Why do you want me to pause?
no, just when you're in transit. If I don't know, you have that option.
Okay.
I don't
I'll
get
find
motion
it next
sickness. Huh?
Just so we know you're not rolling down the hill or something. We don't know if you've fallen and you can't get up.
I'll let you know. Thank you for your concern.
Select board updates, Dean. You want to talk about or did we already?
No, we didn't.
Was that a motion though? Will Frank just motion to make those changes?
Thank you, Lynn. I think it was.
Who seconded that?
I just did.
Okay.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Frank. Thank you, Lynn.
Bedtime.
Okay.
Go
Back. All right. So the company that's putting in the railroad crossing on Thompson's Point Road asked to have it closed entirely, in which case they could do the work in 3 or 4 days, or if they do 1 lane closure at a time, they say it would take a week or 2. Now that I'm reading this, a week or 2 of lane closures to complete the surface work.
Well, Dean, how can you completely close Thompson's Point Road?
I mean, they would do they proposed a detour.
Like, how can you? But it's where?
They'd be able to go down Lake Road.
Extension, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not personally a fan of closing down the road for that work.
Well, I mean, I'm asking. I'm trying to figure out because Thompson's Point is kind of like.
Right. Yeah, it would be
How would
at the railroad. So people would have to go down, down to Ferry Road and come back.
I thought your meeting was done. It is not quite.
You want Junior? You want to unmute?
I would defer to Junior. Hey there. Hi.
Hi, Matt.
Hey, Tristan.
Hi, Tristan.
Okay, good
What
night.
are you doing up at this late hour, buddy?
He's going to bed right now.
Do I have to?
Yeah.
It's not over.
Goodbye.
You said I could.
The select board's going to pass a motion.
What's that?
We'll explain it as we go forward.
Junior's gone to sleep.
He's just muted.
I tried to unmute him, but I can't. There he is.
Hear me now?
Will you stop playing with the darn button?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Well, you guys know I don't play with computers, so come on.
No, I was talking to Dean. Stop pushing the unmute button. I was trying to unmute myself.
So yeah, I'm still here. We're still here. Yeah, I'm not really, sure that we should close it, just because of, well, I'm not sure just when they're going to do it, but we're going to have all the campers are going to be coming in shortly. You've got Point Bay Marina, which is going to be getting up and going. It would put more traffic onto that part of Ferry Road, which doesn't have a lot of traffic, I guess, right now with the ferry not going, but I'm not sure when they're going to start.
And we're going to have the tree cutting soon.
Yeah, I know. Is that essential?
It predated the discussion of essential.
Well, it was last meeting, it was like, come on. It was last meeting, you guys said, oh yeah, and then they said, well, they could start Monday. I mean, we could have been cutting trees, but we're not working, and we were cutting dead trees. They're cutting live trees, which, in my opinion, you're looking for money. There's 20,000 right there. Those trees don't really need to be cut this year. They're not like they're going to fall over tomorrow. I mean, that's just my opinion.
But we've already signed the contract, right?
I know that, but we kind of knew about before we signed the contract. I mean, as far as last night or last meeting, we kind of knew that we were going to be cutting or thinking of cutting and trying to find some money, and there would have been 20,000 that I would have said easily you could have took out of the highway. Okay. Matt
Is this a dead issue, or this can really come back up, Matt? I mean, the timing was not good.
To me, it's a dead issue. I mean, there's 20,000 for the next budget we can withhold. But, the explanation of why we're investing the money now on the ash trees is because if we wait when the ash borers are killing the trees, it's going to be more expensive.
That goes with any subject, though.
Not really. No, this is
paving could cost us more next year. I mean,
it's different because we're dealing with a surge situation similar to the COVID. The entire state is going to have an infestation. $700 million worth of ash trees died in Michigan overnight. That doesn't happen every year, everywhere. And Vermont is the last state to have this infestation. It's happened in New York. It's happened in Massachusetts, it's happened in New Hampshire, and it's happened in Quebec. So there's a lot of data on what the costs are to municipalities on this one. It's not really.
Yeah, but do we have a time frame on what it would between when a tree gets infected to when it falls over?
Yeah, I mean, we could have them come back in and re-educate the board. I know there's been turnover, but those discussions definitely were had. And the 5-year prevention plan to save the town the most amount of money is what schedule we're on. And this is year 2 of 5.
Right, I understand. I'm just saying that that there hasn't been they're not infested right now. If they do, what's the time frame from when it gets infected to when it actually falls?
We'd have to bring them back in, VJ and Mark Dillenbeck and Stu. I mean, we have a committee that made these recommendations to the board.
Right.
Cutting a dead tree is way more expensive, even without the demand for services going to other towns and private properties. So cutting a dead tree is really dangerous, waiting that long. But waiting until every other town is trying to hire the same few tree services and waiting, also competing with every homeowner trying to stop one from falling on their garage. Just think about the supply and demand of an infestation.
Well, I think I understand what you're saying there, Matt. I follow that, but we're in a really unusual situation right now with COVID-19, and we're going to have trouble with revenue. So you know, I understand that it's going to possibly cost more in the future to do it. The trees are not infected right now, but we do have COVID-19, have a lot of people out of work, not getting paychecks, and have taxes coming up. So this may be a situation where, yeah, it's not great, but it may be a situation that we could have used that money.
Well, that's why I'm saying we have $20,000 budgeted that hasn't been approved by the voters yet. You know, that would be the 20,000 I would think we would save the taxpayers come November.
Yeah, but Matt, can I speak?
Yeah, always.
Yeah. So anyway, what I was saying is I'm not against the cutting of the trees. I'm against the cutting of the trees right now when the president is saying and the governor are saying that non-essential stuff should not be done until like May 15th right now. And I consider that non-essential to do it starting. It was supposed to have started today, but because of the rain, they didn't start today. I'm just saying that I don't think it's essential that we should be doing it now or letting them do it now.
Well, Junior, that definition of essential gets batted around a lot.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
But there's, you know, in the executive order, I went back and reread it after Peter Cherno's email. It's really clear that any work done on a town highway is considered essential. You could be.
Well, yeah, and can I chime in there? I went back and reread it. And thank you, Dean, for getting it to me. And I reached out to Mike Sirotkin, who's an old buddy of mine, and I got an email from the head of whatever, blah, blah, and she was wrong. That's not what the executive order said. And so, Junior, I mean, I think your job is to keep our roads safe and to keep your crew together. And I'm repeating myself from earlier in the meeting. I think that's really important. And you know, that's where I am. I don't have an opinion, frankly, on the trees, except I like trees. No.
Yeah, and as far as the town highway department, Dean has been forwarding to the select board what other town highway departments are doing, but Junior is a private contractor who's
I know
independently of the select board to do his job. And the same with Mo. I, as a select board member, I wouldn't ask Junior to conduct business in a way that he felt was unsafe to him or his employees.
Listen, I could not agree more with you on that. This is totally up to Junior to keep his crews safe, but he also should not be afraid to do, if he can keep his crews safe, to do that, to get the work done.
Right, that the governor has clearly authorized any and all work on the transportation system in Vermont. That's clearly stated as being essential. But the discretion, as far as I'm concerned, from the select board's perspective, should be leave it up to you, Junior, to make those decisions for the highway department of what you think is safe and essential.
I agree. I'm with you, Matt. We're on the same page.
But I mean, there were exclusions in that. I mean, financial services are considered essential. You know, people are allowed to be like going into work to make financial trades, you know, on people's, you know, retirement accounts. Is that essential? Could they do that from home? Do they have to go to the office? Well, the governor said it is. So, I mean, it's a long list of what the governor said is essential, and people agree with it or don't agree with it, but it is really black and white laid out there.
So my point's not what's essential, non-essential, and essential. My point was simply that I don't think the timing was good, Matt, in terms of having it done because of the COVID-19 issues that we're dealing with and the lack of revenue. It was just the timing of it. The trees need to come down, I realize that, but the timing of it right now, today, to cut the trees when we have this crisis with COVID-19 and possibly a lack of revenue for the town to operate. It just didn't seem like the right time to do that. We could do that, you know, a year from now or whenever, but I think it was the timing of it with COVID-19. That's all.
I would agree.
Yeah, I guess I don't disagree that there's a juxtaposition in that timing. At the same time, the only time that work can be efficiently done is in the spring. So putting it off a year would be the same difference to me as withholding next year's $20,000, which is the same difference to the taxpayer. I don't see a financial difference in withholding next year's 20,000 for COVID-19 versus withholding this year's and approving next year's a year later. To me, it's a net sum zero.
Well, I hope we don't have COVID-19 next year.
But we won't have asked the taxpayers in November to pay that $20,000, which is when the tax bill is due. People have already paid these taxes.
Yeah, I get that.
Right.
So
So
we were looking for places that we could trim the budget from here to the end of the fiscal year. And that was just one of the possibilities, that's all.
yes.
I mean, that was one of the possibilities. It was right there in front of us, and we could have trimmed it and maybe helped out a little bit with the COVID-19 issues. But we didn't. And I understand your idea that they'll have to pay for it in the future, but the timing, I just think, could have been maybe discussed a little bit more, that's all. It's done.
Can I just chime in? You know, I was kind of agreeing with Jim, you know, it was like, you know, you had talked to me prior to last week's meeting and saying that you were talking about trimming and then mainly just the highway at that point. But at that time, I thought that the board knew that you were trying to trim some of the excess off. And I thought that that would have been the time to say, hey, maybe we could hold off on the trees this year and then do the trees in next year's budget, just because of, you know, right now we don't have the emerald ash borer here. And maybe if we do some trees this year and then we don't do them next year, it might be here and we're going to say, oh, we should be doing them now. But I mean, I think it's too late now because we already okayed them to do it. But I'm just saying that I was thinking that maybe it should have been stopped at last meeting and not this meeting. I think it's too late to stop it at this meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it's a case of hindsight being 2020. And, you know, when it was approved, it wasn't approved with dissent. I think it was a unanimous vote. Now, you know, if there's buyer's remorse, I'm in that boat too, but I don't know what we can do except, to your point, James, of financial relief to the taxpayers would be to cancel next year's appropriation, and it would be the same difference.
I don't think this was buyer's remorse, Matt. I just think this was bringing up the subject that maybe the timing was not good. Maybe we can learn from it. It was not, you know, that's all I'm bringing it up for. It's not buyer's remorse at all. It's just the timing of it was not the ideal with our present situation. That's all.
Got it.
I think we can learn something from that.
We took a
little detour, so to speak. So the topic was closing Thompson's Point Road. It sounds like consensus is no road closure, correct?
Does anyone desire to close the road?
Wait. No, it wasn't. It was not to close the road completely,
Correct.
but to do like a one lane something.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
Do we have to provide the traffic control?
No, they'll provide it. I believe. I don't think we're on the hook for that.
So there's no difference to the town, whether, except for convenience, for whether the road is closed or whether it's reduced to one lane.
There's no difference. You mean financially, or?
Yes.
I don't see any reason why we would be providing traffic control. It's not our project. It's a state project.
That's what I mean. There's no financial difference to the town, whether it's a road closure or a single lane open.
Right. Financially, no. It is convenience, right?
So I'm all for just a one lane.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the timing of it, I think the one lane was a better deal than trying to close it. That's gonna get busy down there.
Right.
All day and so forth, so.
Yep. Okay. So the other item that I had was Daniel indicated he, I think, would, all things being equal, prefer not to come regularly to the town office if possible during this time. So I was looking for options as far as what we could do on particularly certificates of compliance, which it sounds like that market is heating up with refinances. And those are basically just the zoning administrator confirming we don't know of any violations on the property. It's not like it involves a site visit or anything like that. So, I mean, he had proposed that he do the forms and then submit it to me and have me sign it and send it to the town clerk, which that's kind of the last step in the process. I'm not quite sure how that would work in terms of, I know there's a statutory provision for appointing the zoning administrator, which the select board does. And I don't think that I would be getting, I mean, I'm you know, just kind of thinking out loud how this could work. I'm not sure that, you know, maybe there's a possibility for just appointing me to just sign them without actually appointing me to be the zoning administrator.
Well, Dean, I guess from my perspective, the important thing is, does Daniel have all the tools and everything he needs to do his job? I mean, if we need him to come into the town hall, have we provided him with protective stuff and masks and whatever he needs? And if he's going to try and do it from home, have we provided him with everything he needs to do his job? The email from Mary was pretty much like he should try and come to the office. But if he does not want to do that because he doesn't feel safe, then that's a whole big issue. But which I totally am sympathetic to him about. But we have to look at him and say, have we given him everything he needs to do his job?
This may be getting into a personnel discussion.
Oops.
And I'm not sure how to navigate an executive session.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. I was spouting off. Sorry.
There is something called breakout rooms, which we experimented with once, which basically creates a room that I put everyone into, and supposedly, oh, Juliana's here. She's going to help us do that.
Well, you know what I'm going to suggest is we delegate this to Matt. Are you okay with that, Matt?
Is there a way that Daniel's got to do, he's talking about the CCs right now.
Yeah.
And
that's all we're talking about, I think.
And at this point, he's got to write it up and he's got to sign it. Does he have to have, to record it, does he have to have an original signature on it? And if so, could it be something that would theoretically could be mailed to the town hall?
I mean, that's
or even put in an envelope and slipped in the slot, so he doesn't actually have to go into the town hall to give it to them, so they can record it.
That's kind of the route that I was thinking of initially. I think that would seem like a possibility.
And that way he doesn't have to actually go into the town hall. He could slip it into the slot, signed, sealed, and delivered, and it could be recorded by Mary or Christina.
Right.
Because they know where to put things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, as long as the application gets to him in a reasonable amount of time, he would have the time to process it and either mail it back or, as you say, drop it in the Dropbox.
Yeah. That's all.
That's a good suggestion. So I think he does have the tools he needs. He has complete access to the web, to his desktop, and he has email, and he checks. He said he was a little bit lax on checking his phone messages, but he's going to do that more regularly. Daryl is now on the computer and on the internet and on email, so he's all running. sounds like he is warning a meeting, hearing for the planning commission. It's not quite clear whether the zoning board is going to have a joint hearing or not on that, but that's between the two boards. So I'm happy with the resolution as suggested by Frank as to how to go forward.
I mean, the only downfall with that is whether Daniel has a printer to print this out, and whether the town would have to reimburse him for printing.
Um,
And that's, I guess that would be up to Daniel.
Well, he might be able to email it and have
yeah, if he has a scanner, that's I'm not sure he has a scanner.
well, yeah, but look you can get a printer for $200, team.
Nice.
You know, this is not going to break the bank when we're trying to take care of our employees.
Yeah.
No, we got an HP DeskJet with a scanner and photocopier for like $119 at Best Buy.
Yeah, I bought mine for under 100.
It's going down.
Like, you're going to have to go shopping.
All right, great.
And then he'll probably just want it to sit for 3 days before opening it.
That's gonna bring the two of
Or
those.
wipe it down with wipes.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that sounds great.
Yeah.
See how that goes. Select board update. Mary emailed me this morning. Since the governor extended the stay-at-home date until May 15th now, could we look at the possibility of maybe a June 2nd or 9th vote on the budget? Whatever you decide, I think it would be best to have the vote at the town hall rather than try and work around the school. Thanks, Mary. My thought on that, because of the good work we've done on the curve, also means that we have a really low infection rate. And so we're probably going to have a extended stay-at-home situation. I would prefer, instead of doing it in the beginning of June, when it's the stay-at-homes were in the middle of the months, to get on the backside of that, so that if he does extend it to the middle of June from the middle of May, if we did a June 23rd election, we could avoid canceling another election.
That should be good. That'd give enough time to have it and be ready for the next fiscal year.
Right. I mean, we even have till the 30th, but that's cutting it a little close.
Yeah.
I think the 23rd is a good idea.
Okay.
And so you also need a informational hearing that then usually it's the night before. It doesn't have to be. I think it's within 10 days before.
On Zoom?
Yeah.
We're not going to be
That's
there,
what we're
Matt.
doing then.
Yeah,
I mean, hopefully
We're
we're all
not going to be doing Zoom in June, Matt.
right.
I try not to be a prophet. I just, I'm seeing the can
I'm
get kicked
willing.
down the road.
We'll be in big trouble if we're not open by June 15th.
I know.
I don't disagree.
Much bigger trouble than we are now.
So did we want to do a 22nd? Do we have a regular meeting on the 22nd?
Yes, you do.
So we'll just have it at a regular meeting?
Yep.
I just read 2 days ago, every 45 seconds, someone dies from COVID in America. And over 800 people a day are dying in New York alone. And they're right.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate that.
It's really
No,
serious.
it's bad.
Yeah,
bad.
it's bad.
And I'm worried about, I'm worried about not going to the Arctic in July, and I'm worried about what am I going to do with all my peonies. So I have nothing to worry about.
So what do we need, Dean, for this? Do we got to come up with a warning?
Yeah, we'll have a warning. We can put that on the April 27th agenda. I mean,
Does it have to be 30 days before?
I'm thinking it does have to be 30 days before.
Within 30 days?
No,
Or
well,
at least 30?
I'm thinking at least 30, but maybe research that. I'll research that to figure out whether it could go on April 27th or May 11th.
Or
one of those.
For
April 27th or May 11th.
well, I think we'd want to do it as soon as possible
Okay.
to come up with a warning to be for the town.
Yeah, so April 27th.
Now, just from the previous discussion about the trees, I'm going to put this out here because it's institutional knowledge, and I just want to hear what people's takes are. Because this is the last year of the charter, the way the charter has structured the budget is the vote at town meeting is advisory only. And it is up to the select board to present a budget to vote on by Australian ballot. It's not up to the people at town meeting. So it is.
I had the same thought, Matt. And are we still, I mean, if we roll over, I mean, are we still obligated by the charter to have an Australian ballot? Or if the charter expires? Just making that up. Hey, what, I have nothing else to think about. So, you know, what am I thinking about? This stuff.
I didn't even go there. That's really
It's really bad. I just was thinking like, okay, well, if the charter expires, then we're not bound by it. And we don't even have to have an Australian ballot. I mean, that's not good. That's not good politics. Okay, team, but it's, you know.
But on my point is really, we have the legal authority to change the approved budget at town meeting if we're looking for austerity on next year's budget to present.
Oh, okay,
to voters.
okay.
So if at town meeting, people approve the trails overwhelmingly, $57,000, the select board doesn't want to do that, we don't have to present that 57 in the budget for Australian ballot. That's a political decision I think people should think about when we get ready to warn what budget we want people voting on.
Yeah, my political instinct, which could be 100% wrong, is that we warn it at what it on that issue. But you know, I'll defer to everybody else.
So Matt, that's for next year's budget. Is that correct?
It starts July 1st.
Right. Yeah.
But it has not been approved by the voters yet.
Yeah.
Right, but can we change what was approved to be voted on in April? Do we have the power to change that amount to be re-voted on in June?
I'm 99% sure that's what the charter allows, that it's an advisory motion only at town meeting.
Right, but what I'm saying is what would have stopped us with the charter if people voted in March for a certain amount, and then when April came around, we decided, oh, we're just going to change it.
Getting voted out next March.
Well, I realize that, but I'm just saying, what would have happened? What would have happened this year if we had our vote in April? If after the town had their town meeting, on the next meeting before, when we approved the new amount and the warning and everything, we just decided, okay, we don't like that. We're going to change it. And that's going to be our new amount we're going to vote on in April. What if we would have done that? Isn't that the same thing as saying, okay, we're going to change it before we vote on it in June?
Exactly the same, except the time.
So we could have.
Yes.
You're saying on March 5th or 6th or whatever it was that we voted the warning, we could have changed it after the town had already said that we approved an amount.
That was my understanding. Yeah. No one ever did in 3 years.
I think I can bring it up on the screen if you. So I think that's the relevant section. The vote. Let me do this. The town shall vote the budget amount for the town, which at the floor meeting of the annual meeting, which vote shall not become effective until the voters have approved such budget and related articles by Australian ballot conducted in the manner set forth in this section.
Right, but it doesn't say we can change it.
Yeah, I'm not really seeing that either.
Oh man, I was pretty sure that that was one of the complications no one thought they'd ever do.
No, if it's rejected, then we can change it. So what, to me, in my mind, when I look at this, I think we've got to put out for vote the budget that was approved in March. And if it gets voted down, then the select board can alter it and put it out for vote again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it is looking like that. What, Dean, where do you find that on the town website?
I think it's, well, I just put it up under on the meeting packet, but
got it. Yeah, I found it. Okay. It's right above meeting packet.
Oh yeah.
I'll leave it at that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I stand corrected. It has to be. But then it would just be electing to not spend any funds.
Right.
Would be the only power.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So to review this a little bit, so now in order to change anything like that, this budget would have to be voted down and make a change during when you renegotiate the budget, right?
Yes. Although, to Louise's point, the last chapter, section 5 of the charter says it'll be repealed effective July 1, 2020.
We can delay it long enough, right?
That may be
not quite enough time.
It might be out of our control. I hope not. Okay. Are there any other updates? So everyone's good with the 23rd?
Yes.
Yes.
And we'll have a regular meeting on the 22nd for our informational meeting.
Yeah.
This is one way of getting over camera shyness.
Although,
Did you change outfits?
No,
Carrie,
but
did you?
I'm hot.
VCAM's been very shy.
I am terribly shy, but I look better with my glasses. Sorry.
Oh, any other updates?
No, I'm going to say something. I'm just so proud to be part of this group, and thank you. We will work our way through all of this horrid stuff.
Yeah, that's well said. No one asked for any of it. Gonna pushing through it. If there is the opportunity for the town to secure or promote testing, it's an issue that I think is a really important public health issue. And if we have the ability as a municipality to leverage that for people in town, I'd like to investigate that as time moves forward. There's two tests that are important. And I think as far as getting our economy open, the most important is the second type. Testing to see if someone has an infection is what it is. But testing to see if people have had the infection is what's going to be rolling out soon. And the more people that have antibodies and prove positive are then immune to getting it and to transmitting it, and are then, like in England right now, they're coming up with a immunity passport system so that they're doing this testing, and those people are safe to go about doing activities without any restrictions, except for excessive hand washing. And so that's going to be the fastest, surefire way of opening up the economy and making sure people are doing it safely. So as those resources become available, I'd like to see if the town could partner with fire and rescue or something to kind of give our residents, as much advantage to get back to normal as quickly as possible and safely.
The governor's update today did speak about that testing, and it's going to be really ramped up pretty fast. So, yeah, I think as a town, it'd be great if we could get that happen here.
And even if it's just hosting the parking lot,
Yeah.
and having, medical staff,
Sure.
Town land for that.
Yeah,
Or
that'd be
even the
great.
seniors, the great room at the senior center. I mean, that's, there's a lot of places.
Okay. Wow, I can hear someone's clock.
Yeah.
You're hearing the clock here. I got a clock here. Old clock is ticking. That's what you're hearing. And I was just thinking, we must be getting near the end of the meeting, aren't we?
Yeah. Is there anything else?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
That's so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. But hey, Dean, we need to stop by the town hall tomorrow sometime to sign a few things, sounds like.
Yeah, liquor licenses.
Yep, okay,
Yep,
no problem.
Bills and warrants.
those and warrants, correct.
I did those today, so that's all good.
Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night. Thank you.
You.